On Thursday, February 8, 2001, 52 teams arrive in Daytona's garage area, ready to contest the 43-car starting lineup for the Great American Race. One of the last to be announced is Mansion Motorsports, which enters Carl Long in the number 85 Nupco paint remover Ford. This will be Long and team owner Thee Dixon's second consecutive attempt to make the Daytona 500. 3 teams are still without sponsorship. Rookie contender Kurt Busch in Roush Racing's number 97 Ford, Jeff Purvis in Phoenix Racing's number 51 Ford, and despite their driver's optimism, Eel River Racing's number 27 Pontiac for Kenny Wallace. For the second straight Speed Weeks, one of the storylines will be a veteran in an unsponsored white Pontiac.
I have a lot of faith in Eel River Racing, for sure. You know, every time I watched the car last year, it always qualified good and ran well. It had a problem making it to the end of the races, but you know, I left a team where I finished 22nd, 26th in the points, and, you know, if it's not one thing, it's another. You know, racing's about winning.
In the days leading up to opening practice, Devin Birmingham, Vice President of Eel River, receives a letter from Navy Chief Petty Officer William Downs, a hardcore Kenny Wallace fan. Inside is a check for $15. As teams unload, the countdown continues, but now each second ticks louder than before. The Daytona 500 awaits.
And a good morning. I'm Ken Squire at one of the most treasured spots in all of sports, where for the past 36 years, I've had the opportunity to be part of a broadcast team for the Daytona 500. From the beaches to this modern super speedway, there have been many changes, but this year marks a special change. Fox Sports is proud to become the official broadcaster from Daytona. With respect for those who did so well in the past with this event, Fox looks forward to the opportunity to take televised motorsports to the next level. Get ready. The new era starts right now for the Great American Race.
On Friday, Fox Sports kicks off 43 hours of live NASCAR coverage with opening practice. At the same time, the previous broadcast partners are quietly silenced. Both ESPN's RPM Tonight and Speed Vision's Inside Winston Cup Racing are denied their credentials and prohibited from showing NASCAR footage during their shows. Meanwhile, ESPN will cover the Truck Series for the full 2001 season, but Fox will exclude Truck Series reports from their coverage. On the internet, Turner Sports acquired NASCAR.com from ESPN over the offseason and has since encouraged current drivers and teams to link to the site. Only when the site goes live on February 9th do fans realize that Turner failed to enable live timing and scoring. The function won't be available for several days. Pristine cars roll through technical inspection, where some parts are immediately confiscated. Through the first round of inspection, there is already what Mike Joy calls a pile of denial. An upper control arm from Bill Elliott's Dodge, non-conforming fuel fillers from Todd Bodine and Steve Park, several oversized fuel cells and fender extenders.
Mike Dale Earnhardt is the winningest driver in Daytona International Speedway history. He was the last car to leave the garage to go out for morning practice. He is making what he hopes to be his second Daytona 500 victory charge this week here in Speed Weeks, which is his 23rd Speed Weeks here in Daytona. He is the most prolific restrictor plate driver in NASCAR history. 11 wins and 52 starts. Now, many people figured he'd bring that potent Talladega winner from last fall to Daytona. That's actually the team's third backup car in a trailer out in the infield. He's racing a brand new mount, one with some questions. It was the 33rd fastest car during winter testing. Stacking the odds even greater against Earnhardt picking up that win here in Daytona. There have been 4 straight different restrictor plate winners. He hopes to break that streak later this week.
First on track is Sterling Marlin. Marlin's Coors Light Dodge is not the same car he tested with the Ford engine the previous month. This is the famous Chip Ganassi Racing chassis number 005. Built in 5 days, this chassis is still being used today. Other Dodges are hiding different manufacturers under the sheet metal. Ward Burton's chassis is his favorite Pontiac, which he ran on the superspeedways the previous year. Same goes for Bill Elliott. When Evernham moved into Elliott's old shop, they set to work on Laughlin chassis LRP 03000754. This is the Ford with which Elliott won his Twin 125 and finished third in the Daytona 500 just 1 year earlier. This fact must be wonderfully satisfying to the Arrington family. In 1985, Buddy Arrington reluctantly switched from Chrysler to Ford Thunderbirds that were once raced by Bill Elliott at Melling Racing. Now, Elliott's best Ford chassis is powered by a Joey Arrington engine, the number 9 rebranded as the very symbol of Mopar's return to NASCAR.
Bill, how are things going?
We're just trying to sort out and see what we got.
What are you trying to find out? What are you working on with the car?
Like everybody else, seeing how fast we can run when it comes time tomorrow afternoon.
Some of the Dodges are faster than yours. How do you account for that?
You'll have to talk to Ray because I have no idea.
Okay. Good luck with it.
After STP scaled back as primary sponsor in 2000, not one of the 3 Petty Enterprises Dodges carry any logos for the company, which now only pays for Richard Petty's promotional appearances. STP has also ended their sponsorship of the Daytona 500 itself, which had been ongoing since 1991. Where one long-term relationship ends, another is born anew. Richard Petty won 37 of his races and 3 of his championships in Dodges. Unlike both Bill Elliott and Ward Burton, the Petty team has not used any of their old chassis from the year 2000. In a massive undertaking, all 3 of their cars run brand new equipment.
Kyle, when Petty Engineering had Herschel McGriff with you, was that a 3-car team back in those days?
Off and on, that was a 3-car team. But you have to go back to the late 40s, early 50s. My grandfather would drag 5 or 6 cars to the racetrack. So, but everybody did at that point in time.
So as far as this 3-car team for you, and you're really heading this thing up, a lot more difficulty, a lot harder.
Yes and no. I think it is. It's pretty difficult to run 3 cars. I think for me, the 45 car, obviously, because it was Adam's car, is more of a labor of love than it is anything else. So I kind of take it out of the equation a little bit. I still look at it. We have a philosophy at Petty Enterprises. We like to look at ourselves as a single team. We just happen to be running 3 cars. We don't look at it as a 3-car team like a lot of other teams do. So everything we do as one unit, as one group, with one goal in mind, and that's to go out and perform and win races, whether it's a 43, 44, or 45. But like I say, because of Adam's deal, it's a little bit different.
As everyone makes single-car runs, no one is as fast as Robbie Gordon.
I knew we'd come here to Daytona with this race team and run real strong. They've run strong in the past before. I think, to roll out and be that quick, we're pretty surprised because we did know we had our homework cut out for us. The engine shop did a great job. The crew did a really good job getting the cars prepared. So I'm looking forward to Daytona this week.
Good bit of work has gone on since you cut that quick lap. What has been done to the car?
We've changed a couple of things. I really don't want to go into exactly what we changed, but everybody's going to gain speed as the day goes on. They got a day and a half to catch us before qualifying, so you have to be on your toes and make advances just as quick as well.
A lot of people think this guy could be the winner of the Daytona 500 or any other race this year. While
the broadcasters believe Gordon is receiving drafting help, he continues to gain speed through the session, ultimately clocking in a best lap of 49.347 seconds at 182.38 miles per hour. Robbie's car is a work of art. Over the off-season, 18 mechanics at Morgan McClure Motorsports spent over 10,000 hours working on his Chevrolet. The car body was removed and replaced 5 times. Winless since 1998, the Morgan McClure team is determined to return to their superspeedway glory. Another pedigree in the garage is the UPS Ford of defending 500 winner Dale Jarrett. Multiple tests at Talladega and last-minute shock changes on pit road have yielded a car that's much faster than his teammate Ricky Rudd. Engines from the Robert Yates Racing team occupy many of the other Ford teams, including both from Travis Carter Enterprises, both at PPI, and Brett Bodine's number 11. Rick Mast has a leased engine from another team and enters a new contract to get engines from Pro Motor Engineering starting at Rockingham. Jeff Purvis and his Ernie Elliott engine ranks as high as 9th in the practice session.
Right now we're just going to make
one run this morning and then one this afternoon, and try to save this motor and everything for qualifying tomorrow. So we'll make one before we qualify in the morning and just make a change each time and try to maybe pick it up a little bit from there. But we've, you know, Mark Reno and Johnny Allen's crew chief in this car, and they're good on these races right here. You know, I was really excited when they asked me to do it, and Joe Gibbs was kind enough to let me come do it. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be you know, I think we maybe can move up the chart some more from where we're at right now.
Is that your best motor in the car right now?
Being it's better only motor, I would say, yeah. No, we've got some other motors with us, but it really is it's the best one, and we don't want to put a lot of runs on it because we know it'll lose a little bit each time we go out. So, you know, right now we haven't hurt it, and we don't anticipate hurting it before qualifying. So, you know, we've got to save it for, you know, the qualifying effort.
Well, good luck. James Finch, the car owner, normally runs Chevrolet products, but they bought a Ford from Robbie Gordon, who now is driving the 4 car, and they bought some motors from Ernie Elliott because Ernie now is helping out in the Dodge program. Mike?
Kind of a leftover fire sale of really good stuff.
Meanwhile, Roush Racing endures a miserable start to their season. All 4 of their entries are well down in the rankings.
And how did the car feel?
It was a little stable, and that means we're slow. So we need to get up to speed and develop some more things into our system by the end of the day today so we can pick up some speed.
What is going on? Not as fast as you usually are.
Well, we're as fast as we can be right now, so basically we just got to wait and get ready to race here.
What are you doing to the car, Mark, to try to pick it up?
Nothing. We don't really have anything. All our work's been done. We're just we're stuck with what we've got now. We've got a little something to pick up tomorrow that we've got in the bag, but it probably will be, if we're lucky, half of what we need. And then we go race. And sometimes racing's a little bit different story. We have to hope so anyway.
Also struggling is Jeremy Mayfield. In the afternoon session, he ranks just 40th on the charts. The afternoon practice belongs to another surprise, Stacy Compton. With the switch to Dodge and the hiring of crew chief Chad Knaus, the Melling Racing team have made a statement.
Stacy Compton and his team are on the move. Let's get a quick word in here. Stacy, tell us what's going on. What are you guys doing?
We're just trying to get a little bit quicker. I tell you, the Kodiak, Melling, Intrepid is pretty good. We was pretty happy with the way we unloaded. Got a little bit of speed to pick up, but we're pretty happy right now. First time out. We made a whole lot of changes after we tested at Talladega and here, and pretty happy. The crew has done a lot of hard work, put in a lot of hours. Chad Knaus, the new crew chief, has done a real good job, and we're pretty happy so far. You know, we want to get a few more laps and see if we can get a little bit better and see if we can be ready for them tomorrow.
After running second during the early stages of opening practice, Knaus makes a change, and the car is even faster. Ultimately, Compton ranks third, but only because Brett Bodine and Michael Waltrip link up in a 2-car draft. Compton is still fastest of the session's single-car runs.
Hey, man, you look pretty good in blue. New uniform, new team, Dale Earnhardt Inc. How do you feel?
Well, I went over and modeled it for my mom, and she said it made my eyes bluer, and it was very nice. So
I can't speak to that.
I'm happy with my new look. I got a new team.
He needed blue eyes or brown.
A lot of tension in this garage right here. You could cut it with a knife, or you couldn't cut it with a knife. Anyway, in there, you've got no points. You got a bunch of guys who worked real hard, tested good all winter, and now they want to see the car go out and run. And we're not quite where we want to be yet, but I think we've got a lot of potential with our car, even in qualifying trim. The Dodges, of course, are fast, which we all knew. They were fakers. And I just hope to put the Napa Chevy solidly in the field tomorrow afternoon in qualifying. Steve Hanshoe and all the guys at Napa are watching in for our first Winston Cup race with these guys. That's big, isn't it?
It's huge. Now, DW just babbled in my ear that your eyes are usually brown. You want to comment on that?
No, I don't know what he means by that, but I'm very, very happy to be in Daytona, and I know my brother is as well. He did not retire, folks. He changed careers. He quit driving, and he started talking about it. And he's real excited about being in Florida, and I'm real excited about him telling the world about what we do on Sunday afternoons. I know he's going to add a whole lot to it, and I can't wait for it all to get started Sunday afternoon in the Daytona 500, the great American race.
All right, we welcome in Michael Waltrip, who I have to point out went 462 starts and has yet to capture that Winston Cup win, but he's in blue. He looks sharp, and he's got Earnhardt as his owner in a whole new outlook. And actually posting, as we showed earlier before you came up here, the 6th, the fastest time in the morning round. So obviously things went well for you.
Yeah, it was a good practice. We were real pleased. Testing went good during the off season. We knew we would have a car that could run fast when we got back here, and indeed this morning when we got all of our stuff together, it ran good.
All right, with Earnhardt, this is obviously you're in good hands here, and would this give you, in your mind, the best chance to win in a long time?
Oh, it's definitely a great opportunity for me. Dale's teams won races last year. They have all the resources, all the parts and pieces to do the job with. I'm going with a team that is a winner right now, and so I feel like I can win in 2001 and will win in 2001, and I can't honestly say I've gone into a season lately feeling that way. Every time I come to Daytona for the 500, right, I think I'll be a factor. I think I can get my car in a position to win the race, and that's even more so this year with a car that is as fast as my Napa Chevrolet is. My first go-kart race, I won. Darrell was there and watched it, and I progressed into the local track and won the championship, and on into the Dash Series, won the NASCAR Dash Series championship. And at that point in time, if you had told me I wasn't going to be the next combination of Richard Petty and Mario Andretti, I would have told you were crazy. I won every race I was in. I knew what I was doing. And since then, as you guys have already figured out, I thought maybe the new network, this stat wouldn't have got passed down, but I've gone on a little bit of a skid. And
just a little bit.
My old buddy Dale Earnhardt is very much intent on changing all that, and it's just been a great off-season and preparing for this opportunity.
Close behind is another pleasant surprise in Ricky Craven. With his late move over the offseason to PPI, Craven looks to make the most of his first full-time Cup effort since 1997.
Really thankful that I crossed paths with Cal and Don Hawk, Mike Beam, Roy McCauley, all these guys. They really got their act together.
It's only practice. Speed Weeks has just started, and Daytona's only one race of the 36, but this has to be very good for your confidence starting out Speed Weeks with a new team like this on such a high note.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of work to do, and, the next race is always the most important. But right now it's Daytona, and we've spent a lot of the last month preparing for Daytona. We also had a quality test at Rockingham and Las Vegas. So as I said earlier, our expectations are pretty high, and the tide forward has been rewarding here so far here in the first couple of hours of practice.
And we welcome in Cal Wells, PPI Motorsports. Nice to see you. Of course, the owner of the 32 car with Ricky Craven, Andy Houston, and I guess Andy's going first in the twin 125s, and then also Ricky going in the second run of that. We appreciate you being with us, and let's talk about your position in that race and what you expect from your cars.
Well, for us, the 125s is just an opportunity to feel out where, particularly with Andy, we've come to grips with this aerodynamic package and how Andy's come to grips with a Winston Cup car at a plate race. He hasn't done it yet.
Andy being a rookie, of course.
Exactly.
And Ricky Craven, the decision to go with him, considering what he's been through, to be your guy?
Well, I felt that I've opened up a hope chest at the foot of Rick Hendrick's bed and found an old diamond he tossed away, and I polished it all up. It looks great to me, so we're going to run it and see how it goes.
Go back to Craven for a moment. A lot of people have given up on Craven. He had the third place here in '97. He got whacked a couple more times down in Texas, a couple more races, and a lot of people backed off on him. And, of course, some of us New Englanders have got our back up about that because we think he's pretty good. But what made you really pick up on him and try to dust off this diamond?
Well, I think he just needed a fair shake. When we looked at what we needed in our team, bringing on a rookie driver in our '96 McDonald's car, we needed someone for him to understudy with. I needed an ode tied, better results than I produced last year. So I wanted someone with some history, but not someone that was really in the twilight of his career, and Ricky fit that bill tremendously. Being an enthusiast, a fan for several years, I did follow him in Busch, and he's an incredible dogfighting racer, and I think that maybe a few things that happened to him, maybe the way he handled a few things and some of the people he worked for just really didn't give him the fair shake that I think he deserves, and hopefully will provide.
Friday's two practices see only one minor incident at each. In the morning, a loose fitting on Terry Labonte's car causes an oil leak, sending him back behind the wall. In the afternoon, Robert Presley's new Penske engine lets go down the backstretch. Just days earlier, Presley picked up new associate sponsorship from HotJobs.com. The company will get even more exposure on Saturday, as he'll be the first to turn a lap in qualifying. There's also an incident in opening practice for the Budweiser Shootout, where Mike Skinner sends Steve Park into a spin entering the tri-oval. In all, 51 of the 52 entrants take time on Friday. The only one missing is Dwayne Lake, once again entered in Dave Marcus's second car, the 72.
The man who races in wingtip shoes in a little less than a month will celebrate his 60th birthday. Dave Marcus trying to qualify for the Daytona 500 for the 33rd time. What brings you back here year after year after year?
I guess just the love of the sport. I mean, I really enjoy racing. It's been my whole life, and I just love it. We're back here again.
Tell me about your chances to make the show. You got a good motor, got a good car. What's the story?
Well, we have a Richard Childress engine. We have a body on the car that they helped with over at the Richard Childress shops. It's a Laughlin chassis. We did well here in practice, so we're pretty enthused about it. This morning's practice, I think we ended up about 21st or 22nd overall, and this afternoon, you know, we're doing like everyone, looking for more, changing gears and just trying all those little things, different jets in the carburetor, and trying to get a couple more tenths.
And I'll guarantee you that when this guy makes the field for the Daytona 500, every face in this garage has a smile on it.
Welcome to Daytona, Florida. A morning fog has lifted here as day 2 of Fox's coverage of Speed Weeks continues. You're watching Fox Sports Net and our continuing coverage as you get a look at one of the most historic tracks in all of sports.
Saturday begins with the last practice session before first round qualifying. There are more single-car runs, and in the early stages, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is fastest over Ward Burton and Stacy Compton.
Well, I want to know, do y'all know why Dale Jr.'s running so fast? He ain't telling me.
I know why. I know why.
Darrell says he knows why.
He's holding it.
Won't tell me either.
Yeah, he's holding it wide open, and you ain't.
Oh dear, I'm not going to tell Earnhardt that.
Chicken.
Yeah, he says Junior's holding it wide open, and you're not.
Oh yeah. Get in the car, Darrell. Ride with me. Let's see.
A few minutes later, Rusty Wallace jumps to second ahead of Burton, with Steve Park now fourth and Dale Earnhardt up to seventh. Towards the end, a few cars start drafting, at which point Ken Schrader bests Junior's time. Michael Waltrip climbs to fourth, with Johnny Benson Jr. now fifth. Back in the garage, Stacy Compton's crew is hard at work. They've tried a different setup in this practice, but it's not nearly as fast, so they're changing it back to what they ran on Friday. Before qualifying comes the final practice for the Budweiser Shootout, which for the first time features tight racing among the 18 entrants. Late in the session comes the first close call of the weekend. Down the backstretch, Dale Earnhardt Jr. runs the apron, coasting to perform a plug check. As he nears turn 3, Mike Skinner unexpectedly slows just to his outside, blocking the path for a fast-closing Jeff Burton. Burton cuts left and locks the brakes, only to find Jr. is there. The two make contact, pushing in the right front fender of Burton's car and the left rear of Junior's, but both manage to keep their cars pointed straight, avoiding a huge multi-car accident. Skinner gets a stern talking to from NASCAR's Gary Nelson, while Burton comes to Junior's garage to talk it over. Both cars will be repaired in time for Sunday's race. Heading into qualifying, the pile of denial has now grown much larger. Confiscated are a windshield from Joe Nemechek's car, a roof wicker from Terry Labonte's, an adjustable fender brace from Jerry Nadeau's car, and now 6 total fuel cells. Still thrashing to revert their car's setup, the Melling Racing team nearly makes their own contribution. There is now an issue with the rear spoiler. Making the repair and going through inspection again means the team has to be excused from their 13th spot in line for qualifying. Also excused are Jeremy Mayfield and Mike Skinner, who likewise didn't pass on their first run through inspection. First on track for qualifying is Robert Presley, whose engine issue on the backstretch slowed Friday's second practice. His lap is bested by Dale Earnhardt, the third driver on track. But Earnhardt is beaten 3 cars later by Sterling Marlin, the first Dodge to take time. Another 3 cars later, and Tony Stewart, the first Pontiac, takes away the pole. After Stewart comes Robbie Gordon, but the star of Friday morning's practice disappoints. He's only 5th fastest of 10 drivers. Steve Park is under Robbie's time, and so is Todd Bodine. But then comes Bill Elliott.
Pole sitter in 85, 86, and 87. Daytona 500 winner in 1985 and 87. But there's something new about Elliott this year, and it's the car he's driving for the first time in his entire Winston Cup career. He has changed makes. Now in a Dodge for Ray Evernham.
Where'd he go? Here he comes, and I'll show you again. Here's Here's the owner over here, Ray, and he looks pretty worried. But you see how that air dam is right down on the ground? That baby's getting down, and that makes speed. We'll see what he ends up with here.
You know, we talk about Dodge coming back, but I just don't think the race fan, it took me a while to conceive just what these guys have accomplished, especially when you think about 1 year ago, they didn't even have motor parts, and it wasn't but until about a month and a half ago they had parts they felt good about coming to Daytona with as far as durability.
Ray's happy with that. That's not a bad, he's not frowning.
The perennial winner of NASCAR's most popular driver award is in at 49.842. His first lap, his 8th fastest overall.
Look at his hands in there. If he can at home, if he can just get a close look at those hands, that car might be looking like it's just floating around here, but let me tell you, that thing is doing a lot of bouncing and bobbing in the corners.
Steve Burns is with Ray Evernham.
And Ray's talking to the crew. Ray, your thoughts on that first lap? It's good. That's as good as we've run. So hopefully we'll see. He's been picking up about 0.4 of a second on his second lap. So if he does that, it'll be a good run for us.
0.4 would put him in row 2 right now.
I knew Ray wasn't very disappointed with that first lap because he had a pretty optimistic look. The best I've seen him have in 2 days.
Or about 2 months.
Maybe 2 months. Oh, yeah, he's happy with that.
I'll say he'll be.
Yeah, he's happy with that.
He is fastest today. Bill Elliott looking for his 4th Daytona 500 pole, 49.029 seconds. Look at the difference. He picked up 3/4 of a second.
Well, he said 4/10, so
it's twice that.
Larry, that driver's been lying to that crew chief.
I believe he was holding back.
Bill Elliott, Tony Stewart, Sterling Marlin, and Ricky Craven.
Look at him
our
down
fastest so far. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Congratulations, Ray.
When Elliott takes the pole, he leads Stewart, Marlin, Craven, and Terry Labonte. The next 12 drivers have nothing for this top 5. This includes Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip, who each take turns in 6th place, and Mark Martin, who's somewhat happy ranking 13th out of 24. Hut Strickland, whose Donlavey car was the second on track, remains the slowest until Morgan Shepherd clocks in for Stan Hoover. But after Ken Schrader ranks just 15th of 25 drivers, it's now Stacy Compton's turn.
The first lap turned in by Stacy Compton in Mark Melling's Dodge, finally approved through inspection. He's had the fastest first lap of the day. There is the time and the speed, and here he comes, trying for the Daytona 500 pole.
And
second fastest.
Stacy Compton moves to the outside of the front row, alongside Dodge driver Bill Elliott, 49.266. 182.68 miles per hour.
Well, I didn't see Ray and Bill jumping up, Bill Elliott jumping up and down. I bet you see that crowd right there jumping up and down because that is a single car team. It's one of the sister teams, you know, one of the stepchildren, I guess we should say, to the Dodge program. They're out there on their own, and boy, they've done. Chad Canals is the crew chief, done a great job on the car. They've had all kind of trouble today, and to go out and make that run, that's incredible.
Immediately after Compton, Jeremy Mayfield's miserable speed weeks continues. He ranks second slowest, splitting Strickland from Shepherd. Jim Smith's team also has work to do, as Mike Wallace ranks just 25th out of 30. Roush Racing's problems aren't solved, and Kurt Busch inches just ahead of Mayfield in what is now 29th out of 32 drivers. Next up is Norm Benning, who despite a slow lap of his own, gets a firm endorsement from Ken Squire.
I got to tell you, this is my favorite guy, Norm Benning from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's run of the Automobile Racing Club of America, and over the last years, you'd find him on those quarter miles at Killcare and up at Flat Rock, Michigan. Then he'd be on the dirt at DuQuoin and at Springfield, Illinois. Then he'd be on the super speedways, all in the same car. The other teams have 12, 14 cars, and well, that was 5 or 6 in ARCA. He had one car, and he and his girlfriend, who's an accountant, and his crew chief, they've moved up. They're into Winston Cup racing now. Look out for Norm Benning from Pittsburgh, PA.
But several fast cars have yet to run. The 35th car on track is Johnny Benson Jr., who takes 6th away from Terry Labonte. 3 cars later, Joe Nemechek takes 5th from Ricky Craven. And 2 cars after that comes Jerry Nadeau.
Well, I kept thinking last year that he was going to be the next first-time winner, and I thought I was going to be wrong, but he pulled that thing out of Atlanta. And talked to Rick Hendrick, and Rick says that this team is primed. They're ready to go, and he looks for great things out of Nadeau this year.
Whoa! Whoa! goes second fastest on his second lap. His first lap was only 27th fastest. His second lap, he picked up 0.7 of a second.
You know, what we might just be seeing is the weather conditions may be improving just a little bit. What do you think?
It is cooling down, and that track's going to have a little more grip. But I got to give credit to his crew chief, Tony Furr, because Tony Furr was Jeremy Mayfield's crew chief several years ago when they beat us like drums here in Talladega.
With Compton now bumped off the front row, Dale Jarrett makes his bid 2 cars later.
And look at this race car. I talked to Todd Parrott, the crew chief. This is the same car that they sat on the pole with in July, but he said, Larry, nothing's the same about it. We have cut the body off, and we talk about wind tunnel time. They've spent 36 hours in the wind tunnel with this car.
Fastest first lap of the day for Dale Jarrett. This could be the run that knocks Bill Elliott off the pole. Here he comes.
But we know
Ninth fastest on his first lap. 4th fastest. There's Robert Yates, car owner, and Jarrett at 49.282, 182.6.
And you know what Robert was telling Dale? Sorry, Dale. Sorry, Dale.
Also impressive are Mike Skinner, who ranks 7th of 43 drivers. Ward Burton takes 6th, only to lose that spot to the next car on track, a driver that had also been held up in inspection, Jeff Gordon.
You want the oil hot, you want the hubs hot, the rear end transmission grease hot, but you want that water cool. It's a big compromise.
It is.
Jeff Gordon completes his run, new paint scheme for his Rick Hendrick Chevrolet this year. Moves him up to 6th.
Yeah. They seem to be happy with that. Robbie's high-fiving everybody. He's happy with that.
182.5 miles an hour, 49.322, so they picked up nearly half a second on their second lap. Steve Burns.
After taking time, Gordon doesn't come down pit road and instead coasts down the apron. He's forgotten to pump his brakes, knowing the team pulled the pads away from the rotors to reduce friction. As Gordon safely comes to a stop behind the backstretch wall, only 3 drivers are left, each slower than the last. Casey Atwood, Kyle Petty, and finally the unsponsored Pontiac of Kenny Wallace. Dwayne Lake, his second Marcus car still yet to turn a lap, is the only driver to not take time. With that, Bill Elliott wins his 4th career Daytona 500 pole, tying him with Cale Yarborough and Buddy Baker for the most all time. Because of NASCAR's new aero package, Elliott's pole speed of 183.565 miles per hour is the slowest in any Daytona 500 since 1976. That year, Ramos Stott was only the 4th fastest, until 3 drivers ahead of him had their times disallowed. It's also the first for Dodge in the 500 since 1973 by Buddy Baker. He and outside pole sitter Jerry Nadeau, the series' most recent race winner, prepare to ride to victory lane. But during the Goodies Dash Series race, held after the session completes, comes breaking news.
NASCAR's post-qualifying inspection process has found a rules violation concerning the outside pole sitter of Jerry Nadeau. Winston Cup Director Gary Nelson, what did you find that concerned you?
Well, what's typical for us at Winston Cup is after qualifying to bring the cars through the inspection area and check the height of them. And all the cars were okay until we got to the 25 car, and it was significantly low on the roof. So we've had to disallow his time, and we're continuing to look into how it got that way.
What parts did you find that you felt might have helped lower the car? I noticed you were carrying in the jack bolts, you and John Darby.
Well, we had to take, jack up the car and crawl under it and try to figure it out. We took some parts that to us looked like they needed further study. We've taken them to our trailer. We've got some guys looking at them. We're going to continue to look at them until we understand exactly how that car got that low. So at this point, I don't have the answer as to how it happened, but I can tell you that it did happen.
Besides disallowing the time, will there be a fine?
Well, we're going to continue to look into that, and we'll talk about it. There's typically more than just disallowing the time, based on the results that we find in our study of the parts.
Thank you, Gary. From complete jubilation to complete frustration for the 25 guys.
An issue, originally believed to be with the jack bolts, but later revealed to be with the shocks, caused Nadeau's car to be too low in post-race inspection. His time is disallowed, moving Stacy Compton onto the first all-Dodge front row for the Daytona 500 since 1969. It's Compton's best ever start at that point, improving on an 8th at Fontana the previous year. Nadeau, however, will have to re-qualify in the second round and start in the back of his twin 125. In the dash race itself, Jeff Underwood and Jimmy Britz flip their cars in separate incidents, but each walk away. With their father Will Hobgood watching nervously from pit road, his sons Jake and Justin battle for the lead into the night. After older brother Jake has a mechanical issue, Justin takes the checkered flag.
Well, Will Hobgood down here in pit road, is it better to win this thing yourself or better to watch your boy do it?
Oh, it's better to watch my boy do it. I tell you, this is the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Jake. I'm happy for Justin. I hate Jake broke, but he put on a good show before he broke. He'll get the next one.
All right, you hurry on down to Victory Lane. He had decided he's going to donate 10% of the winnings to the local church, which burned down if he won the race. So there's some money coming to the local church, Mike.
Dick, the church burned down if he won the race?
No,
or he was going to donate the 10% if he won? Okay, no. I get it.
Do you notice he had Hampton Inns on the hood there? And I'm sure that's just for rooms to stay, you know. We'll put your name on our hood if you'll let us stay at your hotel.
That's how it used to be in the big league. Well, you can tell Will Hobgood that Ned Jarrett said the same thing. His son Dale won the 500.
Oh, I'm hoping sometime this year that I can be up here when my brother wins his first race. Can't imagine with it your son.
On this same day, there's also news from Richard Childress. RCR will field a third part-time Cup car starting with the March 11th race at Atlanta, adding Texas, Charlotte, Sears Point, Chicagoland, Bristol, and Richmond. This will be the number 30 car, sponsored by America Online, which was originally offered to Wally Dallenbach, who in late July of 2000 was too invested in Galaxy Motorsports to leave. Rick Mast was also considered before he signed to drive the 50 car. So instead, the ride will go to Kevin Harvick.
Dick, the 70-lap big money non-points race may favor Dale Earnhardt. He's won 5 of the last 9, but this year there's new competition, son Dale Jr. But now the question is, with $200,000 in bragging rights on the line, how are they going to race if they're trading paint in practice? Steve.
Oh, yeah, but guys, don't overlook Jeff Gordon. He's been in this race 7 times. He's won it twice. Last year he was second. He's qualified well for the 500. This is about building momentum. And, oh, yeah, no more rainbow. There's flames on this car.
Like many aspects of Speed Weeks 2001, the Budweiser Shootouts format has changed significantly. The race length is increased from 25 to 70 green flag laps, requiring a mandatory pit stop for at least 2 right-side tires. The field also expands to include not only pole sitters, but past shootout winners. Because of this, Darrell Waltrip is eligible to race, but he doesn't pick up the offer and remains in the booth. Since 1998, the shootout had been preceded by a qualifying race between the previous season's second-round fastest qualifiers. For 2001, there is instead a random draw. Winning this draw is Ted Musgrave, who was second-round fastest at Pocono the previous July. That race marked the return of Felix Sabata's former number 42 team, which had suspended operations after the death of Kenny Irwin Jr. With Jason Leffler now driving for that team, Junie Donlavey steps up to put Musgrave in his car, replacing 500 qualifier Hut Strickland. The following Monday, the Daytona 500 will host NASCAR's final second-round qualifying session in its current iteration. Qualifying races for the Clash will not return until the venue moves to Los Angeles in 2022. Another random draw on Friday determines the starting lineup. When it's over, the front row belongs to Ken Schrader and Dale Earnhardt.
Car's real good. We tried a different gear ratio that time, and the gear vibrated a little bit, or else got drive shaft switched or something. But we're putting in a different one, so we're real happy. The M&M's car's good. Johnny's little car is real good and solid. So let's see what we got.
You're kind of on a roll. You won a Southwest Tour race in Phoenix, and you're on the pole for the Budweiser Shootout.
Yeah, so far it's going. I've also blown an engine already this year, no, it's we had a fun little weekend in Phoenix last weekend. Won the Tour race and the Winston West race, and starting on the pole was Shootout, but Shootout's fun. We really thank Anheuser-Busch for doing that, but looking forward to that 500 also.
All right, thanks. Good luck, Kenny.
Thanks.
Earnhardt's Shootout car carries associate sponsorship from Oreo, a new partner with the team. Both Schrader and Earnhardt make the race as past shootout winners. Ironically, so does Bill Elliott, whose pole earned the previous day will instead count towards the 2002 race. After Dodge had so thoroughly surprised the field in both practice and qualifying, Elliott's will be the only Dodge in the shootout field. Bobby Labonte drives the same car that crashed on the final lap of the 2000 race, rebuilt in the year since. Fox Sports debuts their new graphics package for the starting grid, which includes digital renderings of all 18 starters. Noticeably absent are many team sponsors. Behind the scenes, the network had reportedly charged $400,000 per entry to have their sponsors shown on the starting grid. Only 6 paid the fee: UPS, Home Depot, Budweiser, Kellogg's, Haviland, and Dodge. Even their logos are hard to see. The driver's head blocks the hood, while the quarter panel decals are too blurry to be legible. Fox will be forced to change their approach later in the week. Coming to the green flag, Ted Musgrave dives onto pit road, complaining of a loose wheel. The remaining 17 starters take the green.
Look at that grandstand. It's packed because they know they're about to see something wild unfold. Kenny Schrader leads them down, green flag. Ted Musgrave goes to pit road rather than coming down for turn 1 with the field. We're racing.
Early on, the leaders find how easy it is to shake someone out of the pack. The first time down the backstretch, Earnhardt and Jarrett split Ken Schrader. Off turn 4, Steve Park gets to the inside of Jarrett. Then heading into turn 3, Tony Stewart makes quick work of Park. On lap 3, Musgrave pits a second time for right side tires. He's 2 laps down, but at least he won't have to make his mandatory pit stop. Earnhardt remains a leader over Martin, Gordon, and Bobby Labonte in the high lane, but the 3 can't get away either. Jeremy Mayfield tries to make a move off turn 4, then Jeff Gordon off the tri-oval. When Gordon stalls out, Mark Martin jumps in front of him, then makes a bid for the lead to the inside entering turn 3. Martin also stalls, giving Gordon and Labonte a chance to cut low and shake him out. But this time the middle lane has momentum thanks to Stewart, and Martin draws even in a tight race for third. Jeff Gordon now leads. Only 5 laps are complete. Dale Earnhardt Jr. enters the picture, locked onto his father's rear bumper as the pair enter turn 3. The 2 then get a run on Gordon for the lead, but the run stalls. The field remains deadlocked behind Gordon and Labonte. Third in the middle lane is Ken Schrader, already back in the mix after he was shaken out on the first lap. Gordon and Labonte remain nose to tail ahead of the pack. This opens the door for the Earnhardts to try the high lane entering turn 1. Gordon throws the block, leaving Labonte to hold off Martin, and Stewart soon finds his teammate, bringing Schrader with him. Once again, the leaders can't escape each other, and Gordon gets back in front of Labonte. Now entering turn 3, the Earnhardts pounce on the opportunity.
Here go the Earnhardts.
This is everybody else's worst nightmare. These 2 guys get hooked up out front, I'm telling you, it's going to be trouble.
Now, is Dale Sr., is he going to leave son hung out to dry there? If he gets a chance, do you think he'll drive down in front of Jeff Gordon, or will he stay right there, Darrell?
Right now, he'll work with his son. I wouldn't count on that all day, though.
Finally, it's Gordon's turn in the middle.
I think he'd be a little thicker than whether their teammates or not.
Oh, goodbye, Gordon. He's in the middle.
He's in the middle.
Coming back from a commercial on lap 13, Earnhardt Jr. makes a bid on Bobby Labonte down the backstretch, but Earnhardt is pushing Labonte to the lead, allowing him to cut down and complete a daring pass.
Fire right there. Those guys are lined up in that high line, and I know it depends. Here's Earnhardt moving to the inside of Bobby Labonte.
He'll do that just as Labonte moved down to pick up teammate Tony Stewart a lap ago. Earnhardt Sr. moves down and up right across the bow of Labonte.
That right there is absolutely breathtaking. Trust me when I tell you that.
By now, Ricky Rudd, Dale Jarrett, and Terry Labonte are having a hard time seeing. Each are complaining that Schrader is leaking oil. Once among the leaders, Schrader now runs about mid-pack as the tail end of the field starts to come apart behind him. On lap 15, Schrader gets the black flag, but continues third on the inside line for another lap before he pits. The crew doesn't see what's leaking and sends him back out, his mandatory pit stop now complete. Back on track, Earnhardt remains in the lead over Bobby Labonte and now Jeff Burton. On lap 19, entering the first corner, Labonte tries a move to Earnhardt's outside, but Jr. remains in the low lane with his father. The Earnhardts clear traffic down the backstretch, where Jr. pulls to the lead with Stewart. The next time by, Jr., Stewart, and Gordon lead a 3-car breakaway, with everyone else not far behind. Jr. still leads, returning for commercial on lap 23. The next time by, Earnhardt comes to pit road, and Gordon cuts across the track to lead him in. Following them in are Mike Skinner, Joe Nemechek, Terry Labonte, and Rusty Wallace. Earnhardt, Gordon, and Skinner leave first with 2 tire stops, but Skinner can't keep up. The next time by, Bill Elliott, using mostly the same pit crew from his McDonald's team the previous year, pits for 2 tires, but does so alone. He doesn't have any drafting help, and worse, he's the only driver in the field reporting a push. Junior stays out to lead over Stewart, but on lap 26, Stewart drops Junior to second. A single-file freight train forms as they try to catch the trailing Earnhardt, Gordon, Elliott, and Skinner. The leaders lap Skinner on lap 29. Bobby Labonte has a deal to pit with 3 other cars and wants to take 4 tires. On lap 30, Jeremy Mayfield slows down the backstretch and ducks into the garage with a blown engine, the first car out of the race. Back on track and still under green, Elliott has reeled in Gordon and Earnhardt, forming a small pack of their own. At the same time, Junior, Stewart, and Labonte are pulling away from the rest of the leaders. It's lap 33, and Stewart has now caught Gordon, Earnhardt, and Elliott, determined to lap them. Elliott gets shaken out of line, then Earnhardt and Gordon, as Stewart rushes past in the high lane. Stewart leads the halfway lap, with Labonte and Junior behind him, followed by the lapped Earnhardt and Gordon. On lap 36, Elliott continues to drop back to the tail end of the line, Earnhardt and Gordon still right behind the leaders. With the Lucky Dog still years away from adoption, both will have to try and get their laps back the hard way. Back from commercial, and it's lap 40 with the lapped Earnhardt and Gordon now directly behind Stewart. Entering turn 1 on lap 41, Gordon starts racing Earnhardt and Stewart pulls away. Earnhardt then gets a run into turn 3, and with Gordon pulls to his outside. Both are now in position to get back on the lead lap. That is, until Junior moves low and helps Stewart again. Musgrave pulls behind the wall, joining Jeremy Mayfield in the garage. Just like that, there are only 27 laps to go. With 26 to go, Bobby Labonte's crew is standing on pit wall. Steve Park makes his pit stop by himself. Just as his work completes, Stewart finally comes down pit road with Junior, Labonte, Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, Ricky Rudd, and Dale Jarrett. They all take 4 tires. Burton's car stalls, and a couple crewmen fall over as the 99 refires in the middle of pit road. Back on track, Martin leads by himself on only 2 tires. Junior and the rest of the field are charging back to catch him. Among them are Earnhardt and Gordon, back on the lead lap in 8th and 9th. By the time we return for commercial on lap 49, Stewart has blown the doors off Martin in turn 1, bringing Labonte with him. Martin manages to hang on in 3rd with Jarrett and Junior now racing for 4th. Jeff Burton cuts to the inside of the tri-oval. There are now 19 laps to go. Earnhardt pulls up to 5th place, still gaining ground with his 2 fresh tires. With 18 to go, Earnhardt starts looking at the outside lane in turns 3 and 4, still reducing the gap between himself and Junior. Labonte pulls to the inside with Martin and Junior and drops Stewart back to 6th. Back up front, Martin makes a bid for the lead with 17 to go, clearing the field off turn 4. Junior then gets a run with Stewart entering turn 1, but the 2 split up, and Earnhardt pushes his son. Labonte remains racy and works to the inside, picking up Stewart.
Here comes the teammates, Joe Gibbs, and look at Dale Jarrett get a run, sucking up on Tony Stewart in that orange car.
I believe that the 20 and the 18, I believe they said, look, let's see, be sure we can handle these guys. Let's get back here and pass them.
Heading down the backstretch, the leaders lap Terry Labonte, who holds the inside lane. Dale Jarrett makes a bid entering turn 3 and makes contact with Stewart. Jarrett gets back in line and Junior gets a run on him to the outside, the number 88's now by himself. Stewart opens up a big lead again as Junior backs up to Labonte on the outside line. This gives Junior a run into turn 3. Junior takes the lead, but only for a moment. Stewart and Labonte clear Junior to the lead with 11 to go. Gordon tries to form up a line to the inside. Rusty Wallace tries to lead it, but Stewart, Junior, and Earnhardt remain up front. With 10 to go, there are now 13 cars in the lead pack, led by Stewart and Junior. Rusty Wallace's bid on the inside has moved him all the way up to 4th, the best he's run all race, with Jeff Burton right behind him. Jarrett remains on the inside lane, but again, no one will help him. 8 to go. Stewart and Junior manage to keep open track between themselves and the rest of the field. Ricky Rudd enters the picture, coming to 7 to go, cutting low in a challenge for a top 5. The field remains single file on the straight, then fans out in the corners. No one has anything for the top 2. 6 to go, and Earnhardt is inched ever closer to Junior. Despite drafting help from Wallace and the rest of the leaders, he can't make a pass. With 5 to go, Schrader re-enters the picture on the inside lane. He's back on the lead lap after his black flag, with Labonte now behind him. Entering turn 3, Junior is all over Stewart's rear bumper, trying to get by. He still has just enough room before anyone catches him. With 3 to go, Schrader pulls to the apron. He's out of gas. The green flag stays out, and in the shuffle, Earnhardt gets past Junior to second. He now makes a move to the inside of turn 3 and takes the lead. Wallace up to third and Burton to fourth. Junior now out of the picture. Earnhardt crosses the stripe with 3 to go, but Stewart is still hot on his trail.
No one has won more races at Daytona International Speedway than Dale Earnhardt.
Let me tell you something. That wasn't all that bad a move. We'll have to see how it plays out. But I think Tony Stewart was feeling like he might not be in a good position leading this thing on the last lap.
Darrell, they are running that high side of that racetrack.
And don't count out Rusty Wallace. He's kind of snuck his way back up to the front pack there, the 98 winner of the shootout.
I think Tony Stewart thought better of leading on the last lap. I think he wanted to get Earnhardt shook out and see what he could do with him.
Look at Tony Stewart, no help. And he goes by Earnhardt on the bottom side going into turn 3 and 4.
I'm not so sure they didn't touch because Earnhardt really took off up the hill. White flag.
A Pontiac has never won this race. Stewart leads the bell lap in a Pontiac. Here comes Earnhardt, Wallace, Jeff Burton, and Gordon to the inside.
Let me tell you what, Tony Stewart is doing some good mirror driving right now.
Look at the run. Dale Jarrett gets there behind Jeff Gordon on the bottom side of the racetrack.
Boys, the race is just getting ready to start. Hang on to your helmet.
Where do you swerve?
Well, nowhere yet. All right, now go.
This is it. Down to turn 3, final time.
If he doesn't get him here, he doesn't get him.
3 wide going into turn 3. Dale Jarrett pulling Bobby Labonte along with him. He's up to 4th.
But it's not for the big money. Tony Stewart, the Rushville, Indiana Rocket, leads him off the corner. Earnhardt may have one last chance.
It's over.
Tony Stewart wins the Budweiser shootout over Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace.
That was a fun race.
Well, congratulations, Tony Stewart. Tell us, was it driver, car, crew, strategy? What won this thing for you today?
Playing the restrictor plate game. I hate this stuff, but it worked for us.
With his crew chief, Greg Zipadelli, congratulating him. What are you learning? You said as soon as you got into victory lane, you said, I'm finally learning this game. What did you learn that helped you today?
I'll tell you what, when you got Dale Earnhardt behind you, he's going to pull every trick out he can to win here. And he's won so much here that you got to pay attention to what he's doing. And I'll tell you what, I can't thank Dale Earnhardt Jr. enough. I mean, him and I worked together all day long, and whether he was leading and I was behind him or vice versa, we really worked well to get today. And that's something I'm going to be looking forward to next Sunday, him and I working together again, because we really ran well. We ran up front all day, and we were able to really get some runs on some guys. So, I don't know if his old man's going to be very happy with him, but him and I had a good day nonetheless.
All right, congratulations. Matt's with Earnhardt.
Well, Dale Earnhardt made a great drive, nearly pulled off your 7th Bud Shootout victory. The 4 tires versus 2, was that the difference?
Well, I reckon. I don't know what they did, but my car was awful loose, awful pushy. I could tell they had better rubber on it, but I just kept driving the car, flying the car, doing the best I could on the top. And Rusty and the guys worked real well with us. I just knew I needed that top lane. I couldn't get on the bottom. I'd shove off for turn 2 with the wind and everything. So we just kept working, and I tried him one to go and got the lead. Maybe it's too soon.
Another rule change over the offseason mandated that the shootout couldn't finish under caution. It isn't necessary, as no cautions fall. 70 laps of aggressive but clean racing. In all, 19 lead changes among 7 different drivers. 10 more lead changes than in the previous year's Daytona 500. If there was any doubt that the Talladega Wickerbill package couldn't produce good racing at Daytona, it's surely been put to rest now. And there are 4 practices, 2 qualifying races, and the 500 itself still to be run. But the Ford drivers are upset. A year after each won a Cup race at Daytona, both Jeff Burton and Dale Jarrett say they had no chance to win the shootout. Burton has particularly pointed comments, saying the Fords also struggled under this package when it debuted at Talladega the previous fall. Burton also has advice for Darrell Waltrip.
And Darrell, you're talking too much. I've been waiting here for like 10 minutes to get on television. I know you're new at this, but you're talking too much, and it's making us wait. It doesn't take, it hadn't taken Darryl long to forget. When we get done, we want to leave. Now he's one of you guys, and he's forgot that.
Thanks for taking the heat off me. It's Darryl's fault.
That's right.
NASCAR impounds the top finishing car of each manufacturer for wind tunnel testing to be returned Tuesday morning. The Pontiac of Tony Stewart, Chevrolet of Dale Earnhardt, Ford of Rusty Wallace, and Dodge of Bill Elliott. Rumors indicate, and RPM Tonight confirms, that Ford has the worst drag number at a 522. Chevrolet and Pontiac are about the same at 509 and 506. Dodge has by far the best at 471. After the shootout comes the ARCA season opener, the Discount Auto Parts 200. The front row consists of Kirk Shelmerdine driving for Ted Campbell, the number 57 CLR Ford, and the number 71 GMAC Chevrolet of Ricky Hendrick. Set to kick off his first full season in the Truck Series the following Friday, Hendrick makes his second series start with Jeff Gordon as one of his spotters and Jerry Nadeau's pit crew in his stall. Kerry Earnhardt also has firm backing for his number 2. Dale Earnhardt will be on the team radio, and Michael Waltrip's pit crew will use the race to prepare for the 125s. There's also Ryan Newman with his father Greg atop the pit box. Also in the field are Norm Benning, who attempts both this race and the 500, Keith Seegers in a car prepared by Morgan McClure Motorsports, and Mike Swaim Jr., who is former Buffalo Bills quarterback Jim Kelly on hand. There's also LJ Racing's number 91 entry, once again fielded for Blaze Alexander. Since LJ wasn't able to prepare a car for him in the Daytona 500, Dan Pardis drives for Jim Gardner. Pardis leads 14 laps to Shelmerdine's 3 and Frank Kimmel's 18, but it's Hendrick who dominates the late stages, pacing the field for 33 laps. That is until Robbie Benton's spin sets up a restart with 11 laps to go.
He's in bow on the outside. Give a call to Stuart Kirby in that front pack, 75, 19 years old. Bob Straight's teammate, or Bob Beck's teammate rather. A lot of dust up there. Come by for the restart.
What happened to Ricky? Did he miss the shift again?
Hendrick gets dropped to 4th place.
I'm thinking he might have missed the shift because they just got around him too easily.
And he's even losing another position here. I'm wondering if something else is going on.
No, he just missed that shift, and you lose so much momentum, and you panic as a driver, and I think you just got to get it back up to speed.
Yeah, I mean, they're going high, they're going low by him.
This is his worst nightmare. He did not need this.
Hendrick's missed shift will leave him in 9th place, but Ryan Newman isn't out of the woods either. When Kerry Earnhardt spins, he now has to hold off Frank Kimmel for 5 laps.
Newman leads the last lap from Bob Strait.
Well, we know Newman has got a good spotter, and he's already proven that he will take
Whoa,
you to
did you
the
see
dirt.
that yellow car get loose right there?
Yeah, trouble for Dan Pardis. Here comes Kimmel right up against the back bumper.
One off the corner.
That's Tim Steele.
Steele's
Here goes
around.
Pardis.
Comes Pardis. Steele's all right so far.
Now this is the race. They'll race to the checkered flag. That was Kimmel sliding to a stop. Newman with the car length straight trying to gain. And Kimmel too far back.
You can't make it. What you see is what you get.
The Purdue Engineering student and open wheel graduate, Ryan Newman, wins the ARCA REMAX 200.
Newman scores his 4th ARCA victory over a charging Bob Strait. Also impressive is Stuart Kirby, who finishes 4th in his first ever superspeedway start. The ARCA race also sees the first injury of the week. On lap 18, Ron Cox, also known as R.C. Hickson, is spun by Donnie Morlock off turn 4. Ben Hess sacrifices his car to avoid hitting Cox in the door, but Cox slams the inside wall short of pit road. Cox climbs from the car, but is later reported to have both a fractured left elbow, a contusion of his left shoulder, and a concussion. Cox will return to run the full ARCA season, and will even finish a career-best 4th in the point standings.
The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel this morning, David Coleman, very fine writer, pointed out that in yesterday's race of 70 laps, there were more lead changes than in the entire Winston Cup Speed Weeks at Daytona a year ago. That's 370 laps a year back. as opposed to 70 yesterday, with one more lead change. So we're all looking to competition this coming Sunday in the Great American Race. The 43rd edition is going to be a barn burner.
And you'll see that on Fox, of course, on Sunday. And that was the buzz this morning around the garage.
After the fog lifts, Monday's practice session sees the rest of the Winston Cup field try the style of racing they saw in the shootout the day before. There are no charters, no top 35 rule. The only drivers locked into the 500 field are the front row, Bill Elliott and Stacy Compton, plus the top 6 drivers in the 2000 standings, Bobby Labonte, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Burton, Dale Jarrett, Ricky Rudd, and Tony Stewart. Everyone else has to finish 14th or better in their Twin 125 or hope that their speed is fast enough to still get them in. Today is the time for drivers to test their cars in race conditions. The only cars still in the garage are Dale Earnhardt, who has an oil leak, Dale Jarrett, and Jeremy Mayfield. Just before he goes out, Earnhardt wants to speak with Darrell Waltrip.
Gordon messed me up. I couldn't hear you. What you say?
What did you see with your 500 car? Did you like what you saw on the racetrack compared to your shootout car, which you finished second in?
I don't know. Is Darrell working today?
Well, theoretically, yes.
He said something about my open face helmet in a race yesterday. I didn't like that.
Well, you know, I could set up a meeting maybe. Do you want to talk to him?
As many years as he's been watching races.
Time out. Hang on a second. Okay. Now go ahead and you can talk to Darrell.
Yeah, Darrell.
First, don't go there yet.
Wait a minute.
Don't you think you might have made you move a little early yesterday, bud?
Well, Darrell, it was the only move I had. You know, it's sort of like when you see it, you got to do it, and that's all I had. And it may have been a little too soon, and I know it was too soon, matter of fact, and I knew it was wrong when I was doing it, but it was the only opportunity I had, so I had to go for it, man. And the helmet deal, you shouldn't be talking about the helmet deal. It's the safest helmet in Winston Cup racing today.
Well, but listen, you got to understand something. All I hear is, Earnhardt, he can see the wind. Now, you know you're a smart man. Ain't nobody can see the wind.
If it's blowing in your face, you can't.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So maybe it's him. I slipped in there yesterday, and you wasn't around. I looked through the goggles. There ain't nothing trick about them.
No, they're just clear. I
slipped the helmet on. I don't feel nothing unusual there, so it's got to be.
Will you put my helmet on?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why my head's itching. Hey, show my logos here. Help my sponsors out a little bit. Come on.
Let's see. That's yeah, good wrench, good wrench, good wrench. Okay.
I got you, and I got like Hershey.
Why do you keep wearing that Earnhardt hat?
Well, I lost my Goodrich hat, man.
I haven't seen you wear that hat until this year. Now, what's the deal?
Hey, you two, wait a minute.
It's an old hat.
Dale. This is your other nightmare.
Yeah, Larry.
On a serious note,
I won a Daytona 500 with you, buddy.
You got it, buddy.
Helmet. Yeah, I'm still mad at him for that.
Open face helmet and that seat you got in that thing. We won the Daytona 500.
Yeah, we did.
On a serious note, this first time at Daytona in race conditions with the aero package. What are you seeing different from what we've had here before?
I like it, and honestly, the cars do drive, I think, as good as they did before, but it does lend that to drafting back up and keeping the cars side by side. I think it's a better race. I seem to think the high line is after the tires go off about 20 or 30 laps. I think the high line is the way to go. So, you know, I can't wear this hat, guys. It's something to sponsor.
Was you surprised cars got as ill handling yesterday as they did?
Well, my car didn't get ill handling. Let's rephrase that. My tires had gone off on the left side. I 70 laps on tires. The right sides were a little, you know, older than the guys that came out with 4 tires there at the end. So really, I was really going good chassis-wise. The tires was hot and wore out versus what they had. I was guiding it pretty good in the wind. I thought I was flying that race car pretty good through the corners. I mean, if you guys couldn't see that, I mean, you know, I was doing a pretty good job, even as old as I was.
You were dragging around. You were lifting. We had a camera in there. We saw you lift.
No, you didn't have a camera in my car.
Well, we saw you lift.
You riding with me, Darrell. I told you ride with me.
Nope. I didn't even like being beside you.
Look here, I got to go. My car's ready, and I got to go back out and practice. Change some little springs here. Trying a little something here. I think we'll be fast. Larry gave me a little tip last night.
We'll call you later.
All right.
All right. The 98 Daytona 500 winner. 7-time Winston Cup champion. And verbally jousting a match for OMDW.
I tell you something, it makes me nervous when he'll discuss things like that with me.
Now here's the helmet that we're talking about. Most of the drivers now run a full face face helmet with a full chin bar, pioneered in Winston Cup by Jeff Bodine. He brought it with him from the modified division. IndyCar drivers have had him since Dan Gurney first tried it in '68. But Earnhardt is one of a few that prefers the open face helmet.
Well, there's pros and cons. Dale is convinced that the chin guard down around the bottom of your chin there, the bottom part of the closed face helmet, can actually act as a ratchet and actually can cause your helmet to be pushed up. But I'm not so sure that I wouldn't rather have that happen than to have my face bare like his is. Maybe that's why he looks the way he does. He's been wearing that old open face helmet. The heat's got to him or something.
Well, in the arguments him and I had about it, he just always said, Darrell, I just can't see. But one thing you see he does have right here, that's a headrest. And what that does, especially at any racetrack, if you do get hit, it gives your head support. You know, what you want is as much of a cocoon around your head as you can, and that just gives that little extra support.
Here's another difference between Earnhardt and a lot of drivers. Look at the plane of Earnhardt's eyes as he sits in the car. Look at how close that is to the windowsill on the door. He sits lower in the car than anybody.
Well, one other thing real quickly. When you got a full face helmet on, you can't see anything down in here. It's all blocked out. You can't see anything. Plus your peripheral vision is somewhat restricted with a full face helmet. So he's not wrong.
Nope.
And he likes that open face helmet and those old bubble goggles that we've been wearing for 30 years. That's what he likes, and I can't argue with him. But I did have to finally convince him to wear gloves, and he did come around to that way of thinking anyway.
Wait a minute, I worked with him a year and a half. He ain't never wrong.
Practice rolls onward. Tony Stewart has the fastest lap over Steve Park and Kenny Wallace, with Robbie Gordon still fast in the draft taking 9th. Then Mike Skinner jumps to the top of the board, moving Stewart, Park, and Wallace to 2nd through 4th. Sterling Marlin takes 5th, with Kyle Petty now up to 10th. Then Junior is fastest over Skinner, Marlin, Waltrip, and Hamilton, with Stewart done for the session, now back to 6th. The session ends with these 5 still the fastest. Once again, the field manages to keep it clean, though Jeff Burton overheats late in the session. Perhaps the only driver to not run in a pack is Dale Jarrett. Testing a new intake manifold Robert Yates wanted to try, Jarrett only makes single-car runs and 5-lap stints, his car set in race trim. With second-round qualifying approaching, drivers lean on their teammates for help. Prior to Monday practice, Evernham Motorsports swaps Bill Elliott's engine and transmission into Casey Atwood's car. Richard Childress puts Dale Earnhardt's qualifying motor in Dave Marcus's car. And Chip Ganassi Racing puts Sterling Marlin's intake and carburetor on Jason Leffler's car. Leffler needs all the help he can get. After ranking just 35th in qualifying, Leffler becomes the second driver to have his time disallowed. NASCAR detected contaminated fuel. While team co-owner Felix Sabates suspects sabotage, the crew looks at this positively. They believe the contamination may be why they were running so slow. Leffler, like the disqualified Jerry Nadeau, are the only 2 drivers so far certain to participate in the second round. The rest of the field has to decide whether or not to stand on their first round times. 5 minutes after the session, only 8 of the 52 entries have elected to participate in second round qualifying. This includes Brett Bodine, teammates Dave Marcus and Dwayne Lake, and the disqualified Jerry Nadeau and Jason Leffler. Despite swapping parts on the number 19, Casey Atwood's team elects to stand on their first round time. In the session, both Nadeau and Leffler still aren't up to speed and have to line up at the back of their qualifier. The fastest lap belongs to Brett Bodine, who now, ranked 21st, has practically locked himself into the 500 on speed.
We're 21st fastest overall. If you take both rounds of qualifying and combine them, we're 21st fastest overall. Feel like that's pretty safe. You know, historically, the 25s are what you go by. Top 25 in speed, top 25 in point standings, pretty much guaranteed to be in the 500. Our whole mission tomorrow is we want to start as far forward in the Daytona 500 as possible. Start 23rd in our 125. We've got some work to do. Got a fast race car. You know, we just got to have the brakes go our way. Some lanes open up, try to catch up to that lead draft. Hopefully it doesn't split apart, get in 2 groups, but you know, we just got to see what we can do. Feel like we got a great shot. This is probably the best race car I've had here since the early 90s, back when I drove for Kenny Bernstein, so we're very excited about our chances.
The booth also welcomes Larry McClure, who was asked multiple times about how to handle a driver as aggressive as Robbie Gordon.
We're looking to get the balance right on the car, make sure that he can suck up and make sure he can judge his speed, because he hasn't drafted with this new aero configuration before. So we're not sure what's going to happen.
What to expect.
But he's pretty talented and shrewd. I think he'll be able to handle it.
AJ Foyt makes an appearance. In this interview, he's non-committal about grandson Larry Foyt's upcoming Busch Series debut.
I want to know what is going to make you more worried this week, Foyt, because you never worry about anything when it comes to racing cars. But you got Hornaday trying for the 500, and your grandson's here trying to get in a race at Daytona. And so when it gets down to it, where are you going to fret the most?
Well, I think I'll be at both teams and, let the ball fall where it's going to fall. There's nothing you can do about it.
Is that kid any good?
Well, he's been around a little bit. He went to college and did everything I asked him to do. We raised him, and he's like my own kid, and he's very smart and got a good head on his shoulders, and he run good in karts, and he run good in ASA, and we run him in the ARCA race at Charlotte. He run good, and Atlanta rained out, and he run over 190 there, so we just have to wait and see.
Heading into Speed Weeks, Foyt dismissed rumors that he was shutting down his team, saying that he had to let go employees because his team was overstaffed.
Hey, AJ, it's DW up in the booth. They taking care of you down there, buddy?
Well, I tried to get a soda water, and they didn't have no soda water.
How about maybe a milkshake or something like that, huh?
Well, the doctor told me to get off of them, but I've doubled up on them.
I have a question for you, AJ, very serious one. Who do you think's the best driver, you or Mario Andretti?
Whoa, nice question there.
Well, that's a very easy question to answer. You got to go by who won the most races. So I think that guy A.J. Foyt won about 3 times what he's won, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know anything.
Thanks for setting the record straight as a car owner. You've seen it. You were here for the first one, had a car in your first car in 1960. Why do you think it has become the great American race that it has become?
Well, it's a very good sport, and I think when I got into racing, I was really a fan more than I was a racer, because I enjoyed racing. I was raised with the sprint cars, and I don't know, I've just always enjoyed watching the competition that you had there. So when I come down here, I still come down as a fan, and I really enjoy being here, and from the beach days all the way up through right now.
Lingering fog delays the 5th day of practice, where the Busch Series cars take to the track for the first time in single-car runs. Among these drivers is Matt Kenseth, who still runs a partial season for crew chief Robbie Reiser's family, a team otherwise unaffiliated with his current Cup effort at Roush. During the opening minutes, a wedding ceremony is performed in Victory Lane. It's already the 3rd of the day so far. The biggest stories of the morning are the penalties NASCAR handed down to the 2 disqualified teams. Tony Furr, crew chief for Jerry Nadeau, is fined $14,000, while Kevin Cram, Jason Leffler's crew chief, is docked $10,000. Both Furr and Cram receive 4-race suspensions, which will last from the 2nd race at Rockingham until the 6th round in Bristol. The 2 are among 18 crew chiefs penalized for various infractions. The sum total of all these fines will come to $40,750. The Cup Series finally gets onto the track for an abbreviated session. Soon after, the field stacks up even more, choking the backstretch with cars. This despite NASCAR limiting the pack to only 20 to 25 cars at a time. Only when a car ducks onto pit road do officials let another one enter the track. This particular part of practice leads to the first unofficial Crank It Up segment in Fox's history.
Well, for those of you who are stuck home at 2 feet of snow, have those nice surround sound systems in your living room, give it a crank, and you can listen to the sound of this pack here at Daytona.
As drivers gain confidence, the racing intensifies. Jason Leffler completes a pass on Jeff Gordon to lead the pack. Derek Cope bump drafts Mark Martin down the backstretch. Dale Earnhardt pulls out of line, having run the fuel cell dry to see how far it could go. Earlier, he picked up a left front fender rub because the team shaped the body to such a narrow tolerance. During this session, NASCAR begins to penalize drivers for racing on the apron at full speed. First to be black flagged for a stop-and-go penalty are Kurt Busch, Morgan Shepherd, Steve Park, and Norm Benning. DW proposes a solution.
I ask the question, why do we not have out-of-bounds stakes? Why do we not have out-of-bounds parking? Why don't we have a penalty for going out of bounds? Have it in every other sport, and everybody kind of laughed. But I tell you, that would stop some of that getting so bottled up down at the end of the back straightaway there. It would stop people from getting run off into grass going up the back straightaway. I think at some point in time they're going to have to initiate some sort of rule like that.
In the early stages, Sterling Marlin and Kyle Petty run the fastest laps. But the longer the session goes, the more the Fords climb the charts. Soon, Ricky Craven is fastest over Jeff Burton, followed by a surprising Robert Presley. Derek Cope's Pontiac holds fourth over Mike Wallace, with Kyle Petty still not far behind in seventh.
Basically just drivability. You know, we have to get in or get out come Thursday, so we've got to get drivability in the car for long periods of time. So right now we're trying to run a long 30-40 lap run a day, make sure we don't wear the right front tire out, and see if we can get this K&N Filter Sport in ready for the 125s.
Have you been able to give it a real long test out there?
We ran 30 laps yesterday and just saw a little bit of trouble in the right front as far as camber, so we make an adjustment there, a shock change, and now I'm just going to go back out and see if it drives as good as it did yesterday. We were really good on the bottom for all 30 laps. Elliott pushed us to the front of that draft, so I'm going to be okay.
A lot of drama to that finish in 90. Do you still have people coming up to you today talking about it?
Yeah, a lot of people still talk about it. You know, I mean, anytime that Earnhardt wins or loses, you get a lot of talk about it. But, you know, we just got to try to get back to like DJ and win a third, or for us, win a second. It'd be good for MSN and WMHINC.com and all the guys that have helped us so far.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Dale Jarrett returns to the track, and just like the day before, chooses to run by himself, turning in the slowest laps of the session. Mark Martin still struggles for speed, but is thankful that his car is handling better. Ricky Craven, who now holds second in practice, joins his crew chief Mike Beam in a debrief with Robert Yates. Also during this session, there's an interesting moment where each member of Fox's broadcast crew explains what makes Speed Weeks of the Daytona 500 special to them.
When I come to Daytona, I know that I'm competing against everybody when they're at their best. Everybody has more time to prepare for this race than any other one we're going to run all year long. There's more effort, there's more emotion. This is absolutely what you live for, is your moment in the sun, because the sun is shining here when it isn't shining anywhere else.
How'd you feel your first time here, Willie?
Well, you know, it's an awe. It's like going to a monument. But to me, the one time every year 1 and year 20 last year, that makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck, and until you've experienced it, you can't describe it. It's standing in them pits. Those 43 cars take that green flag. They come around lap 1, and the ground's rumbling. You know, the ground's rumbling under your feet. It's like just, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it again.
How about you, Jeff?
Mike, all I can say, Mike, the first time, anytime I've been at Daytona, if you can't get what Larry's talking about, the goosebumps, and I'm getting them right now again, when you watch these guys put on the show they're putting on, and they come down that short chute right where they're headed right now, it just gives you, I mean, I think it'd be like getting in a ride with going to the moon or something, because it just really gets the adrenaline flowing, the mouth gets dry, and you just get so excited about all the energy that's going through you. And I think it's coming from all the fans and all the drivers, but it just gets so exhilarating, just hard to describe. Man, I wish there was some way you could make every fan out there understand how good it feels to be a part of it.
Ken Squire?
Well, I got to tell you, when you come down here at this time of the year, I can remember 1965 going into a little bar just off Main Street, and somebody said, over there, right over there in the corner, those three guys, that's Freddie Lorenzen. Oh, my heart. Fearless Freddie Lorenzen was right there in the same bar that I'm sitting in. It was amazing. I mean, it was electric. So it's not only on the track, it's off the track, it's everywhere. It's everything that's involved in Daytona at this time of year. This is the time of year, right now, today,
when everybody comes to town. The fraternity gathers. The Reverend Hal Marchman used to call it the Redneck High Holy Days. Well, now it's a lot more than that. It's all the people, all the promoters, every grifter, every pool hall hustler who's got an idea about how you can go one squinch faster. They're all down here selling those ideas. Some are legal, some are illegal. All of it's happening at once, and all the promoters are down here. They're all trying to make deals. They want to get Dale Earnhardt to their track. They want to get Bobby LeBron. We'll pay you $7,000. All you have to do is come in and sign a few autographs and wave to the crowd. The deals are going on over here behind us in the garage, and that will continue all week. There's no other racing in America but Daytona in the month of February. Speedweeks is part of the history, and it's exciting, it's exhilarating. It makes you young all over again every time you come down here for the great American race.
And that's Ken Squire, who's been here for 36 years. Let's get a word from the rookie stripe member of our crew, Jeannie Zalasko's here at her first 500. What do you think, Jeannie?
Well, interestingly enough, I'm just coming off the other Super Bowl, you know, the one the NFL plays, and I landed here on Wednesday, drove by the track on Wednesday night, and you look across and it's empty and it's humongous, but you don't get the feeling till you show up the next day, till the drivers are here and the cars are pulling in and you see the crew. What is so incredible to me, though, and as NASCAR fans know this, but seeing it firsthand, as huge as this event is, the fans are right here in the garage, and how gracious the drivers are, and they have a lot of work ahead of them, and this is their Super Bowl, and they're very gracious and very approachable, and it's just a wonderful event. It feels like a family, to be real honest with you, like a family event.
The first time I was here for this event, they fired off the engines, and my eyes just filled up with tears because I couldn't believe this was what I'd worked for my whole career, to be here and be a part of this in February. And I guarantee you Sunday they'll fill up again, you know, like they always do. Just it's overwhelming emotion of what it means to be a part of the Daytona 500. And that's on the minds of everyone in that garage, and certainly every driver on that track, to make the race, to be a part of the Daytona 500.
The return of Dodge to NASCAR racing has been a huge story, made even bigger by an all-Dodge front row for the 500. Bill Elliott and Stacy Compton stole all the headlines in qualifying, but quietly, very quietly, the three Dodge teams of Petty Enterprises have been improving. Yesterday, John Andretti was 12th fastest in practice, and Kyle Petty, garaged right next to him here, was 10th fastest.
Fog once again wreaks havoc with the early morning schedule, this time canceling practice for the Busch Series. The following Cup practice is the last session before the Gatorade Twin 125s the next day, so the focus shifts to drivers who may need to race into the field.
Mike Wallace timed 41st quick, and that's not nearly fast enough to qualify for the Daytona 500. He's going to have to race his way into the event tomorrow. Practice went well yesterday. He was 6th quick overall. How about it, Mike? What are you going to do tomorrow?
Well, we're just going to race like we've been practicing the last couple of days. You know, the Nation's Run Ford has been really good yesterday and hopefully today yet in practice. And the guys have done a great job. We didn't qualify well the other day, but the 125s, I've been able to race my way in the last couple of years. Looking forward to doing it again.
You can bet there's some worry on this team, however. Let's go to Steve Burns.
Right now, you know, pretty comfortable. We've been trying to make long runs to see what the car will do. Still, there's a few things we got to get worked out. It seems like everybody's a little bit tied up off of two. But, you know, out there running, I feel real comfortable. Just got to stay out of the wreck. If there is one, hopefully there won't be, and be there at the end. It's kind of hard to say who you can run with and what line you need to be in, because it seems like you can go from the front to the back, from the back to the front, and vice versa, in no time. So it's a lot different than the Busch racing.
All right, thanks, Buckshot. Good luck.
Yeah, we got our 125 engine in, getting ready to go, and cut practice a little bit short, so we got to make use of every bit of this time. But I think we'll be all right. Yesterday we got a little practice there. Car run good, drafted good, so get ready for the 125.
Qualifying time may be a little deceiving because you're saying that the car feels pretty good.
Yeah, we was really disappointed with our qualifying. Just never got going, you know, from the start. So we're going to be starting in the back of the 125, but we'll get out here, see how the car is going to draft, and get ready for tomorrow.
NASCAR's wind tunnel tests reveal another loophole to be closed. Apparently, some teams have sealed the gurney lip with silicone, which blows out when the car runs at full speed. Now NASCAR requires these gaps must be welded shut. There's also a follow-up with Jerry Nadeau, who's outwardly not concerned about starting in the back for his qualifying race.
Question is, how do you keep your confidence up with all that's been going on, Jerry?
To be honest, it's not a big deal. I think everybody does it. Fortunately, we got caught doing something pretty bad. But, I mean, I have a lot of confidence in the race team. This team's always done well. We won the last race of the year last year. This car's a good draft and race car. I mean, unfortunately, it just doesn't qualify good. So, you know, we'll just see how it goes. Yesterday, we were in the top 15 in practice speeds, and today we're just going to make a few adjustments and see if we can make it a little bit better in race mode. But I'm still happy, even though it's Valentine's Day.
Tomorrow, we're going to watch the 125s on Fox Sports Net. How hard are you going to run in that event?
I'm going to drive my butt off. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to win races, and I think, you know, it's unfortunate that we got to start dead last, but I think what's nice about starting dead last is you can kind of pick your way through the field, and if we judge it right, we can end up somewhere in the top 5 by the end of the race. So I think we got a good enough car to get up there. If I can get enough help and work, you know, enough work with all the other people out there. This car seems to handle really good after 30, 40 laps, where a lot of other guys start getting loose and getting a little bit tight on the racetrack. So I got a lot of confidence in this race team.
Dick Bergeron does a segment on how certain engine parts for the Dodge teams are both similar and different from those currently used on the circuit.
Well, Chris, externally, the Dodge engine visibly is different than either the Chevy engines or whatever else you might see over in the garage area, but I want to take a look inside the engines and see how similar they really are. Now, CP, a manufacturer in California, makes pistons, and look at these pistons. They look pretty much alike. Believe it or not, this piston fits a Chevrolet, this piston fits a Dodge. Almost identical. Now, pistons connect to what's called connecting rods. Here's the 3 connecting rods that are used for the 3 principal brands that are here. Chevrolets run in Pontiacs, by the way, so if you see a Pontiac, it's really got a Chevrolet engine. They look pretty similar. They ought to. This one fits a Chevy. This connecting rod, believe it or not, would fit right inside either a Chevrolet or a Dodge engine. Down here, they put an engine bearing. Guess what fits? Honda. What's important about this is that the internal workings of that Dodge engine have largely come from the aftermarket. The aftermarket's got 30 years of building components for Winston Cup engines, and that's good because that improves the probability that the Dodges, just like all the rest of these guys, are going to be around at the end of the day on Sunday.
The sun comes out as practice starts, and there's more trouble for Jeremy Mayfield. His engine has a miss, so he ducks back behind the wall, the only car in the garage area. Moments later, there's near disaster in turn 3.
Jeff, didn't the teams then, tag. Did Jeff Gordon just get tagged by Mark Martin?
It's a good chance because they ran up on a slow car going in that corner. They got mighty tight.
He also looked like he dipped those left side wheels on that apron, and even though that's paved down there, it's a different elevation or different degree as the actual banking of the racetrack, and it will throw you back up the racetrack just like it did, Jeff. And looks like he's regrouping there, Darrell.
Yeah, he's. I can guarantee you right now, Robbie Loomis is saying, "Why don't you get out of there and come on in?"
Gordon pulls behind the wall soon after and is interviewed.
Saw you talking to Dale Earnhardt, talking about a hairy moment perhaps on the racetrack.
Please tell me you guys got that.
Got all of it. Unfortunately, or fortunately, as it were.
Well, no, now that I'm here in the garage area, I'm glad you got it. I tell you what, that was about the best save I think I've ever had. That was big. I don't think I had anything to do with it, but as far as the save, you know, I'm not. I know Mark had a run on me, and I started turning the corner, and I see him shoot underneath me, and I went to block him. And I said, "Nah, I think he's there." And about that time, I don't know if we touched or just took the air off me, but boy, that thing cut sideways.
You know, Jeff, there's so many dramatic moments that fans rarely get a chance to see leading up to the 500. So much drama during speed weeks.
You know, I think there's more sometimes in practice than there is actually in the race. And that's why a lot of times I don't like to run many laps out there practicing because it can get hairy. But you think, hey, being out front's the place to be. And car is awesome. I mean, that thing is a rocket ship. You know, the track got sun on it. It's a little bit looser, I think, today. So I need to tighten my car up a little bit, but I don't know if that had anything to do with me getting loose right there.
All right, great save. Thank you.
Ken Schrader leads with the fastest speed. His garage mate, Johnny Benson Jr., is also happy with his car, but reluctantly addresses a slight loose condition. It's the wrong decision, and Benson's car will only handle worse through the day. Dale Earnhardt's car is a new associate sponsor. Coming into 1997, Burger King took over for longtime sponsor Mom and Pops on the lower quarter panels. But coming into the 2000 banquet, BK indicated they wouldn't return in 2001. Coming into the race, Richard Childress had yet to find a replacement. That is until this day, when Sonic Restaurants signs a 3-year deal. The deal comes together so late, in fact, that die-cast produced of Earnhardt's car don't carry the logo. Those that do are produced well after the race. Sonic doesn't see much screen time on Wednesday either. Earnhardt thinks he has a gear issue, but then blows the engine and has to change to a new one for the 125s. Then, coming off turn 4, Jimmy Spencer's Ford starts trailing smoke when the cooling line to the valve springs comes loose. Michael Waltrip has to swerve out of his way. There's also a report of an incident in the garage between Dave Blaney and Steve Park.
Well, Mike, I'll tell you how much tension there is here in this garage area. Moments ago, Dave Blaney's crew was pushing his number 93 back into his garage stall. Steve Park was trying to drive back in. They had a little altercation. Steve Park got impatient and actually hit the left front corner of that number 93 car. Hey, that's one of those things that give crew chiefs nightmares. There is yellow paint on the left front corner of that car, but as near as we can tell just by looking, that left front corner has not been damaged. But I'll tell you this, Dave Blaney's crew is not too happy about it.
As the session closes, Jason Leffler has turned the most laps. Both John Andretti and Kyle Petty are now off the pace from the previous day. This may well be the symptom of an off-track distraction. There's a report that Jeremy Upchurch, Petty's engine tuner, has been fired for seriously injuring an off-duty beach patrol officer. Casey Atwood has had another lackluster run, and now must turn his attention to racing his way into the 500 field.
The crowd for the championship round of any professional sport in America does not begin to approach the throng that has piled into Daytona International Speedway today. And this is no title bout. This is just to see who makes the Daytona 500.
The biggest draw to Fox Sports coverage, other than the 500 itself, is Thursday's 125-mile qualifiers. Up to this point, these races have never been broadcast live. Just 1 year before, CBS broadcast these races tape delayed after the conclusion of Saturday's Busch Series race. Just in time for NASCAR's new Aero package, these 26-car qualifying races will be shown live and in their entirety on Thursday. On a warm 79-degree day, expectations are that the events will challenge the record for the most lead changes in the event, 25.
I need to find out your strategy here. I've seen about 5 other drivers come over, bowing down and begging. They want to know, are you going to charge to the front? You're going to hang back for a while.
Well, we got a brand new engine in here, so we're going to probably warm it up good first, get in a pre-sweat mode here and get all geared up. But I'm going to try to go to the front. I'm going to try to go to the front fast or as good as quick as I can, get out of the traffic and see if we can ride along at the front and wait for 50 laps or 125 miles and be in front at the end. It's going to be a battle getting through those cars. There's good race cars up there, Bobby and all the guys, and I think the 15 car is a sleeper too.
Well, it's a battle you've won several times before. Words to race by. Steve Byrne?
Race 1's field is stacked, containing all 6 active Daytona 500 winners on the entry list. Bill Elliott, Dale Jarrett, Jeff Gordon, Sterling Marlin, Dale Earnhardt, and Derek Cope. Elliott is joined by his Evernham teammate Casey Atwood, Marlin with Jason Leffler, and fellow rookies Andy Houston, Ron Hornaday Jr., plus a returning Buckshot Jones in the only Petty car. Both Andy Petrie cars are there, with Bobby Hamilton and Joe Nemechek. There's 2 of the 3 DEI cars in Steve Park and Michael Waltrip, plus 2 of the 3 Wallace brothers. Mike Wallace pays $50 to put his name on a piece of tape on the side of Kenny's car. There's Robbie Gordon, fastest in the opening practice session, and Jeff Purvis driving one of Robbie's old Fords for James Finch. Brett Bodine, fastest in second-round qualifying. 1994 July race winner Jimmy Spencer. Bobby Labonte, the defending series champion. Johnny Benson Jr., nearly the 500 winner a year before. Plus Rick Mast, Carl Long, and rounding out the field, a determined Jerry Nadeau.
These teams and these fans have waited all through a cold winter for this moment. Green flag, and the first Gatorade 125 is on.
Heading down the backstretch for the first time, Michael Waltrip ducks out of line, but Bill Elliott and Jeff Gordon come down to cut him off. Dale Jarrett leads the high line until Sterling Marlin moves up at the stripe, leaving Jarrett hung out to dry in the middle lane. This causes the inside line to advance, and Elliott keeps the lead over Gordon and Waltrip. On lap 2, Gordon moves to the apron ahead of Bobby Labonte, Casey Atwood, and Jarrett. Elliott slots in front of Marlin in the high lane, holding off the Coors Light Dodge for the lead. Further back, Dale Earnhardt is climbing from 14th on the grid, his worst ever start in the 125s, and has found Steve Park in the high lane. Right behind Earnhardt is Jason Leffler, looking to race his way in after his time was disallowed. Jerry Nadeau is having a harder time doing this. On lap 3, he's still 18th, bogged down in the middle lane behind Mike Wallace and Joe Nemechek. Up front, Elliott continues to lead Marlin, and along with Johnny Benson Jr.'s Pontiac begin to break away from the field. On lap 4, Bobby Hamilton makes his presence known, nerfing Robbie Gordon out of the way in the tri-oval, then moving to the middle lane. Michael Waltrip is still trying to lead the inside line to the front, but Jeff Gordon ditches him on the backstretch. Waltrip can't throw the block in time, so he veers hard right and grabs a spot in the high lane. Further up, Marlin peeks out from second on Elliott, but decides to follow him into turn 3. The transfer spot belongs to Elliott's teammate, Casey Atwood, who has Ray Evernham calling the race as his spotter. Just past the stripe to begin lap 5, Marlin ducks out to challenge Elliott for the lead. Benson doesn't go with him, but when Marlin's run stalls, Waltrip's low line charges in from behind. The closing rate is so fast, in fact, that Waltrip is able to pull his line below Marlin, then shoot to the inside of Elliott in turn 3. Only then does the line stall, as the stranded Marlin falls back to a distant Mike Wallace in the middle lane. Waltrip edges ahead at the stripe, but again Jeff Gordon outflanks him, cutting to the apron in turn 1. Waltrip moves up to give Gordon a lane, but now loses his drafting partner in Bobby Hamilton. Waltrip falls back, just in time for Earnhardt and Leffler to charge in from behind. Gordon, Benson, and now Andy Houston lead at the start of lap 7, but Earnhardt's push moves Waltrip back in front of Hamilton in a race for 4th. Leffler now joins Waltrip's line on the inside, while Earnhardt now has help from Robbie Gordon. The two Chevrolets now closing in on Andy Houston, who's now side by side with Waltrip. Seeing an opportunity off the 4th corner, Hamilton ducks under Waltrip. Leffler hesitates, then goes with him, and Nemechek joins the new line as Waltrip drops back again, this time to the front bumper of Ron Hornaday. Back up front, Earnhardt and Robbie have caught the lead quartet and try to latch onto the line behind 4th place Houston. To their inside, Hamilton powers away from Leffler, only to have his run stall in the backstretch. At this same moment, Earnhardt and Robbie catch Andy Houston, and the outside line draws away, bringing with them Steve Park and Jerry Nadeau. On lap 9, Nadeau gets past Park and latches onto Earnhardt's bumper, both of them rushing past Robbie to their inside. Up front, Jeff Gordon makes another brazen pass, cutting under Bill Elliott into turn 3 to complete the pass on his own. Nadeau looks under Earnhardt off the 4th corner. Ron Hornaday holds the last transfer spot in 15th, and Fox goes to their first commercial break. When the broadcast returns, the first caution is out. Bobby Labonte and Dale Jarrett are running near the back of the pack when Carl Long loses his engine in front of them, forcing both to speed around him. Long pulls behind the wall, and needing to race his way in, becomes the first driver eliminated from the 500 field. The leaders split on pit strategy. While the first 7 stay out, 8th place Dale Earnhardt leads another 16 cars down pit road. Among these is Brett Bodine, whose Ford needs to be pushed in due to an ignition problem. Earnhardt beats Hamilton in the race off pit road. They queue up for a single-file restart behind the 7 drivers who stayed out. Race leader Jeff Gordon over Bill Elliott, Johnny Benson, Andy Houston, Mike Wallace, Steve Park, and Kenny Wallace. On lap 16, the race restarts. Immediately, Earnhardt and Hamilton pull to the inside to challenge Kenny Wallace for 7th. Further back, Michael Waltrip and Jason Leffler are pairing up. Earnhardt gets in front of Kenny on the backstretch, but Hamilton can't join him, so Waltrip and Leffler form a draft instead. The transfer spot now belongs to Joe Nemechek. By lap 18, Earnhardt moves to the inside of Andy Houston for 4th place with Mike Wallace behind him. Park hesitates moving low, and Jarrett uses his 4 fresh tires to take the 3rd spot on the inside line behind Mike Wallace. Down the backstretch, Mike gets hung out in the inside lane when Jarrett cuts low with Jimmy Spencer. Jason Leffler, the next car in line, steps out even further. Heading into turn 3, Earnhardt ducks out of 4th and pulls Steve Park with him into 3rd. Off the 4th corner, Earnhardt is already looking for 2nd on Elliott. It's lap 20, and Earnhardt kicks Elliott to the high lane with no help. Earnhardt peeks to the inside of Gordon with Park and Robbie behind him. Off turn 2, Earnhardt looks under Gordon. Benson moves to the outside lane in front of Andy Houston, who just brushed the wall a lap earlier. This opens a clear path for Earnhardt to rush into the lead in turn 3, with Park to second and Robbie to third, and Jeff Gordon now fourth ahead of Benson. Waltrip re-enters the picture, still on the inside lane and sizing up Robbie for third. Over the next lap, more cars join the inside. Entering turns 1 and 2 on the 22nd lap, third place Robbie finds himself between Jarrett to his outside and Waltrip to the inside. Waltrip's line has momentum, and he carries it into third with Leffler right behind. Down the backstretch, Earnhardt tries to throw the block, but Waltrip moves lower on the approach to turn 3. By then, Earnhardt is too far ahead of Park. Earnhardt's run stalls, and Waltrip retakes the lead with Leffler up to second. A perfect time for the first Crank It Up of the broadcast.
Folks, you need a new set of speakers at home? Get ready to blow out the old set of speakers. Let's crank it up.
And strap that television down.
The resulting opening allows Waltrip to pull low entering turn 1, and he's now side by side with Earnhardt for the lead. Casey Atwood is now drawing closer to Waltrip on the inside, but he bails out and leaves Waltrip by himself. Meanwhile, Bobby Labonte and Bill Elliott are lagging back at the tail end of the pack, soon to be joined by Benson. Elliott's crew removed tape before the start, but his water temperature is still sitting at 250 degrees. Labonte, Kenny Wallace, and Jeff Gordon report that Marlin's car is leaking oil, making it hard to see. Kenny's old tires are giving him a bad push, leaving him a distant 19th. Lap 25, halfway home. Earnhardt leads a 4-car breakaway over Nadeau, Atwood, and Hornaday. Entering turn 1, Earnhardt moves up a lane, and Nadeau nearly gets into him. Hornaday says the closing rate is so fast that he's burning up his brakes trying to stay off Atwood's bumper. On lap 29, Brett Bodine is off the pace again due to his faulty ignition. He coasts down pit road, knowing he'll have to rely on his fastest lap in second round qualifying to make the field. Bodine returns to the track by himself when Benson bounces off the turn 2 wall, drawing the second caution of the day. Benson's car is heavily damaged, but he's in no danger of missing the field for the 500. This time, every lead lap car comes down pit road except Jeff Purvis and Derek Cope. Each had been running in the transfer spot when the caution came out. For Purvis, the decision not to pit is easy. He's having brake problems. The leaders take 4 tires, and this time Jarrett leads them off pit road to line up single file behind Purvis and Cope. The lap Bodine continues to sputter around the track, just looking to reach the finish. He'll be the only car on the inside line when the race restarts with just 14 laps to go. The green flag drops, and when Jarrett and Mike Wallace stall out behind the lead duo, Earnhardt and Marlin have a massive run.
14, look at her, look at her. Whoa! Earnhardt squeezed between those nose. He's got to go now. It's tight off there. Boys, that's a lot of cars in one spot. Holy cow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 wide.
5 wide. And Jeff Gordon knows he's got to get Dale Earnhardt now if he's got a chance to win this race.
Through the chaos, Purvis manages to stay between Earnhardt and Marlin in the outside lane. Cope has already dropped back to 11th. Below, Nadeau continues to try and shove Jeff Gordon to the lead with Waltrip close behind him. Down the backstretch, Gordon cuts low while Purvis stays high in front of Marlin, and Earnhardt is now the one dropping to the back in the middle lane. With Bodine still on the apron, Waltrip peeks to the outside of Gordon entering turn 3. The run stalls, but off turn 4 he gets in front of Purvis, who holds fast to his spot. Gordon remains the leader over Nadeau and now Robbie, but Waltrip won't let him get away. Gordon and Nadeau have a firm grip on the top 2 spots until Robbie gets under Nadeau, moving the 25 car to the high lane ahead of Waltrip. Nadeau and Waltrip find their way to the middle lane behind 3rd place Atwood, while Marlin leads Earnhardt up the inside. By turn 3, Purvis loses most of his drafting help and slips back to the transfer spot with Kenny Wallace and Buckshot Jones. Also dropping back is Atwood, right after Nadeau takes 3rd and draws up to Jeff and Robbie Gordon. Sterling Marlin's inside line then catches Robbie in turns 3 and 4, and Marlin nearly gets by until he skates up the track off the corner. This opens the bottom lane for Earnhardt, and Waltrip ducks behind the number 3 in a 3-wide battle for 2nd place. Just like that, it's 8 laps to go. Jimmy Spencer looks to replicate Jeff Gordon's move entering turn 1, but no one will draft with him. Robbie tries to get past Jeff, and when the number 24 moves high, Earnhardt and Waltrip steam past. Houston slots in behind the 2, but can't keep up. Entering the 3rd corner, Earnhardt and Waltrip have the biggest lead of the race. Houston catches the 2 at the stripe, but again they get away into turn 1. Heading into turn 3, Marlin tries to get under Hornaday for 4th with Leffler trying to help his teammate. Leffler starts to fall back into the pack, but opens up an advantage, and it's a 5-car breakaway. Entering the 3rd corner, Marlin and Leffler cut to Houston's inside. Marlin gets by, but Leffler takes too long. By the time he comes off turn 4, Gordon and Nadeau have a head of steam.
Have a touchstone with the 01 car, Jason Leffler. This is his first Winston Cup start today.
Man, look at Jeff Gordon. He came off of that corner. He had a head of steam. He drove to the bottom of the racetrack. What a move.
A planned move, Darrell, because
And he's still going. He's going to pass them all.
Heading into turn 1, Gordon makes a bid on Marlin for 3rd, but Marlin and Leffler hold their ground ahead of Robbie and Hornaday. An instant later, Robbie's engine sours and he pulls to the inside. Johnny Benson's damaged car also slows, and off the 4th corner, Hornaday breaks loose and collects Dale Jarrett.
Hornaday. Oh,
that's Dale Jarrett with him in the white and brown car.
And Dale's trying everything he can to not hit him.
Caution is out. Neither car hit the wall, but we go yellow at 46 laps.
Both cars got a lot of damage on those front fenders.
Did Jeff Gordon beat Earnhardt back to the line? I was watching the wreck. I didn't see it, but he's in front of him.
Don't think so. Dick Berggren.
Dale Jarrett is in the pits. He has at least a left front tire that's flat down, and Brad Parrott has just pointed to the garage and said, "Park it, guys." They're not even trying to fix it.
A replay shows Hornaday break loose in a race for 5th, then spin into Jarrett's path. Buckshot Jones turns Jarrett, and the 2 bang doors. After the 3rd caution of the day, it's a 1-lap sprint for all the marbles.
Look how slow Earnhardt is bringing them down. He's posting into the tri-oval. Now the green is in the wind, and he takes off.
Well, there's a method to his madness. We saw Ricky Hendrick lose the ARCA race here the other day. If you've got an open gear in these cars, you're only pulling with the right rear tire. And if you really stab that throttle, you can break the thing loose, and the car won't go. But I don't know if that was a really good move, because they're going to get a run on him up the back straightaway.
Marlin goes to 3rd. Unsponsored Kenny Wallace in 10th. He's in the show. Look at Jason Leffler right there drafting off of Nadeau.
They have left Brother Michael out to dry there, DW.
Afraid so, and I think Earnhardt's a set and duck, boys.
Here they come on the inside. Earnhardt comes down to block.
Too late. He had that jump start he got didn't work out. That's an old Indian trick, but it didn't work out today.
That's an awfully big lead for Sterling to have in turn 4 there. They could get a run on him.
Nah, I think he can hold him off from there. He can block him enough from there.
3 wide, 4 back. Felix Abadi's on his feet. They are 4 wide coming to the line. Wow. And I think Buckshot Jones may have grabbed that last transfer spot as Sterling Marlin wins it.
What a run. Great job. I tell you, Earnhardt out-tricked himself that time.
He led 1 lap, the last lap, the money lap. Sterling Marlin will start 3rd in the Daytona 500. Dick Berggren.
The 3rd time he wins a 125-miler here. So many guys tried. You got it done. How'd you do it?
I must have made some friends the last lap. I tell you, we had an awful good car. The boys on the Coors Light team done a great job, and Chip Felix has got a great bunch of guys. He's setting up out early, and Tony and Soda Bob on the motors, and Dodge and everybody, and it all's come together, and we're going to have a good year this year. It's car drove really good, and
everybody got to run high side, and I got on the bottom when nobody go with me. And finally, Michael pulled down. We got to easing up. But last lap day was just a shootout. And Earnhardt and him got too far out, and I had a good run at him and got by him.
Let's go to Earnhardt and see how things were there. Attaboy.
And Dick, Dale Earnhardt walking back, and the people here, a lot of people talking about that last lap restart. Hey, Dale, what was the strategy on the restart?
I was a sitting duck. I'm the duck, and there's the hunters. And I just, you know, restrict plate racing, that's the last lap kind of thing. And you just do the best you can with it.
What did you say to Gordon when he pulled in?
I was wishing he had stayed with me and we'd have restarted together and tried to go, you know.
Let's show you. There are the two of them. Gordon and Earnhardt talking about it.
Yeah, they've been racing each other. Well, you know, I saw him hanging way back like that, and I was like, I'm not going to let that happen. I was waiting, and I got that line. I said, man, I got that. Well, I started looking in my mirror. I was like, what am I going to do, you know? Hey, I would love to come home second, trust me.
As Marlin, Nadeau, and Earnhardt cross the line, Jimmy Spencer and Joe Nemechek shoot to the apron, forming a 4-wide logjam for all the remaining positions. Somehow, they all make it across without crashing. Andy Houston qualifies for the 500 with a 4th-place finish, just ahead of Spencer. Behind Houston is Jeff Purvis in the field with an 8th-place showing. He'll now run double duty with his 4th-place start in Saturday's Busch race. Jason Leffler in 7th also gets in, a half car length back of Jeff Gordon, and 1 car length ahead of 10th-place Casey Atwood. Both Evernham cars will make the show. So will Kenny Wallace, sponsor or not, who takes 11th just behind Purvis. Brother Mike follows him through in 13th, just behind Steve Park, and just ahead of the final driver to race his way in, Roy Buckshot Jones. Jones crosses the line just over a car length ahead of Rick Mast, who comes up 1 spot short of making the 500. Mast is less than pleased not only with failing to qualify, but with the style of racing that's on display.
No, that's not racing. You know, if you feel like that, you shouldn't even be here. You know, that's the way I look at it. But you know what? I mean, I'm a realist. We came here. We were behind the 8 ball the whole time we were here. You know, this Daytona and Talladega are the 2 tracks for, and these guys up top know this. It's where R&D and money comes into play. And, you know, we were behind the 8 ball the whole time here. We worked faster in qualifying. During the practices, my car was actually pretty fast, guys. I mean, even the day in the draft, it was fast, but I couldn't keep it wide open. My car wouldn't handle. For 3 days, we tried to tighten the car up. We could not get it tight enough. I told Larry Mack that last night. If I could get the thing where I could hold it wide open, I'd be good. We missed it by 1 spot, you know. But the good news is we got Rockingham in what, 10 days? And old Rick does good at Rockingham. So, you know, all you can do is you just pick up and you go on to the next race. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but believe me, when you miss Daytona, it feels like the end of the world, no doubt.
Derek Cope's gamble to stay out with Jeff Purvis also comes up short in 18th.
As the week progressed, you were picking up some speed in the car, but you were in a real tough field in this first Twin 125. How was it for you out there?
We were fine. You know, we were holding our own up there in the draft and just biding our time. And then I got oiled down twice out there. And the last time we just made a poor choice. You know, we should have come in for tires and wiped the windshield off, and I could have been on the same ground as them, and we'd have probably had a shot at it. But just a poor mistake on our part. But got to thank K&N and BDO and WMHINC.com and MSN and all the folks that have helped us get here, because it's a good effort. And we were good enough to be there today. We just made a choice and it didn't happen.
Both will join Carl Long as the first 3 drivers to miss the 500 field. Compared to the previous round, Race 2 is a crapshoot. Not one of the 26 have ever won the Daytona 500. 10 are still looking for their first win anywhere. Another 7 haven't won in more than a year. And half the field, 13 in all, are Fords. Both Penske cars of Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield are joined by all 4 Roush Racing cars, plus technical ally Elliott Sadler for the Wood brothers. Kurt Busch still hasn't landed a sponsor, so his paint scheme is altered slightly to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Ford Racing. A render on Jayski shows a more radical version of the scheme, with names of active Ford drivers like Dale Jarrett and Jeremy Mayfield around the cockpit, but that detail is left off the final product. The font of the number is also changed. It doesn't resemble the one on the John Deere car either, but it will stay Busch's font for the rest of his career with Roush. Several single-car teams fill the grid. Hut Strickland for Junie Donlavey, Robert Presley for Doug Bowell, and surprise outside pole sitter Stacy Compton for Mark Melling. Compton, who has just received new sponsorship from PSI by Johnson Controls and SPX Service Solutions, leads the remaining 5 Dodges. He's joined by the Bill Davis racing duo of Ward Burton and Dave Blaney, plus the Petties of John Andretti and Kyle Petty, each looking to join their teammate Buckshot Jones in the Great American Race. Most others are the lone standard bearers for their multi-car teams: Tony Stewart for Gibbs, Mike Skinner for Childress, Terry Labonte for Hendrick, Ricky Rudd for Yates, Todd Bodine for Travis Carter, Ken Schrader for MB2, and Ricky Craven for PPI. Toward the back of the field are Morgan Shepherd and Dave Marcus, each at 59 the oldest drivers in the field. Marcus has his teammate in Dwayne Lake, who along with Norm Benning fly the flag for ARCA. Coming to the green flag, Benning already has a problem and pulls down pit road.
We're under green. 92 got a nice jump.
Compton leads the remaining 25 starters and gets a huge run into turn 1. Tony Stewart slots into second with Mike Skinner, who's fighting a stomach flu, taking third. Compton's early lead causes the field to form up single file, that is, until the approach to turn 3. Skinner looks low while Terry Labonte looks high, and Stewart finds himself locked in a 3-wide battle for the runner-up spot. With no drafting help, he starts to fall back, and Compton's first across the stripe over Labonte and John Andretti. Back on the backstretch, Compton now leads a 7-car breakaway, and by lap 3, Skinner has just latched onto the tail end of it. Behind him, Stewart is in the middle of another 3-wide battle, this time with Ward Burton to his outside and Ken Schrader down low. Ward takes a peek entering turn 3, but it's Terry Labonte back in the saddle again, who charges under Compton in a bid for the lead. He has Andretti's help, but only for a moment. The 43 helps his fellow dodge, and Labonte is now stuck in the middle and falling back. It's lap 4, and Ward Burton has now picked up both Skinner and Stewart in another valiant charge for the lead. He completes the pass off turn 4, and Skinner tries to make a pass of his own on the outside. But this only puts Skinner in the middle, and Compton glides past on the inside. Ward takes the high line, but Stewart is now in command of the inside and drawing even with the Caterpillar car. Stewart takes the lead off turn 2, but drafting buddy Ricky Craven pushes him even further ahead, leaving open track over the new third-place battle between Ward and Schrader. Crossing the stripe, Stewart picks up the draft of Norm Benning, who had been running by himself since his unscheduled stop at the start. Tony pulls high to put him a lap down, forming a 5-car breakaway of his own over Craven, Schrader, Rusty Wallace, and Mark Martin. By the time they come off turn 4, Martin has Dale Earnhardt Jr. to his inside, who is paired up with Dave Blaney behind. Off turn 2 on lap 7, Jr. slots in front of Martin for the 5th spot, setting his sights on Rusty for 4th. At the stripe, Stewart and Craven continue to lead by open track over Schrader, but Jr. is now battling Rusty for 4th. Jr. completes the pass into turn 3 and escapes the pack, running by himself to catch Schrader. Heading into turn 1, Jr. links up with Schrader to pounce on Stewart and Craven. Craven falls back, and Schrader charges to the lead in turn 3. Fast in practice all week, Schrader is perhaps the only driver in the field who's happy with how his car is handling. Jr., on the other hand, is fighting a tight condition. This doesn't keep the Budweiser Chevrolet from getting a run on Schrader for the lead, but it does keep him from holding off Craven into turn 3. Coming off turn 4 to complete lap 10, Craven pulls Stewart to second with Blaney third and Schrader moving low to take 4th. Jr. can only try to catch the tail end of the draft. By lap 12, Craven is leading a 6-car breakaway with Ward Burton bringing up the rear, Rusty some distance back in 6th. Stewart gets under Craven into turn 3, and Blaney gives him the drafting help to get by. Jr. also locks onto Blaney in a bid to get by Schrader for 3rd, which allows Blaney a run at Stewart for the lead. Blaney finally leads off turn 4, becoming the 6th different leader in just 13 laps. By now, Compton has dropped to the tail end of the pack. Crew Chief Chad Knaus says this is their best car, but their Dodge is sensitive to both sun and heat. They may even park before the race is over. Back up front, Blaney and Jr. move up to block Stewart, whose Pontiac is starting to overheat. By the time they enter turn 3, Jr. gets a run to the inside of Blaney for the lead, and Stewart and Schrader follow through off turn 4. Blaney reunites with his teammates in a battle for 4th, but the lead trio are pulling away in a 3-car single-file draft. Over the next lap, Ward and Skinner merge into line. On lap 17, Blaney gets a run on the leaders into turn 1, but Stewart swings low to stop him. Blaney is now racing Schrader until his run stalls. Back comes Skinner, with all of a sudden Robert Presley taking 6th from Craven. In the early hours of the morning, 3 new engines arrived from Penske Racing, one each for Rusty, Mayfield, and Presley. After tearing through 2 engines, a transmission, and a gear, Presley is now showing his best speed of the entire week. On lap 19, Junior still leads, but Skinner and Presley have latched onto the 3-car breakaway. Blaney tries to get under Presley for 5th. Presley slots into a single-file line, but he's now under attack by Craven, with Todd Bodine entering the picture in 7th. Dwayne Lake serves a pit road speeding penalty in the second Marcus car, then drops out of the race with handling issues. Lake becomes the 4th driver to fall out of the 500 field. There are now 48 drivers left to contest 43 spots, 5 still left to go home. Only then does the race go to commercial. On the other side is lap 23, and the field is strung out once more. Junior leads a 6-car single-file procession with Craven some distance back in 7th, followed by a trio of newcomers, Elliott Sadler in 8th, Jeff Burton in 9th, and Rusty Wallace in 10th. As Burton moves past Sadler to lead their trio, this is the best any Roush car has done all day, perhaps all week. Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, and Kurt Busch are hopelessly behind, locked in a trailing pack that will decide the transfer spot. Among this group is Todd Bodine, who bumps the wall off turn 2 and drops back. On lap 27, Presley runs high in the tri-oval as Jeff Burton works to his inside for 7th. Skinner tries to race Craven, but slots in behind him on the backstretch. By now, Junior is leading a 10-car single-file draft that's a half straightaway ahead of everyone else. The pack remains tight as the broadcast goes to commercial again. Back to start lap 34, Mike Skinner is now leading, having formed up with Sadler, Rusty, and Jeff Burton's line on the inside. Junior, Schrader, and Stewart now find themselves trailing on the outside line and falling back. Entering turn 1, Sadler works over Skinner's rear bumper for the lead and peaks low, but Rusty ducks lower to put him in the sucker hole. Again, the charge into turn 3 proves decisive, and Rusty bolts to the lead with Jeff Burton challenging Skinner for 2nd. It's lap 35. No one is pitted, and no cautions have fallen. As Rusty leads the 2-wide pack behind him, Junior finds a hole down the backstretch and cuts low, Stewart jumping out to follow him. Ward and Sadler pull down, but they can't stop Junior's advance. He considers Skinner in the high lane, then commits to Ward down low. At the stripe, Rusty and Jeff Burton continue to lead, but Skinner and Ward are in a tight battle for 3rd, Junior filling Ward's rearview mirror. Ward pulls high on the entrance to turn 1, and Junior doesn't follow. Instead, he connects with brother Jeff. The two draw even when the first caution comes out.
Trouble, guys. Trouble. Stewart. Back straightaway. 2 cars in the wall, and here is Stewart off on the grass. Getting going again. Caution is out. This happens in the back straightaway. And Tony Stewart, who was in 6th place, and Elliott Sadler, who was 3rd. All torn up.
Well, just when I thought they could take it easy and kind of have some fun, that happened.
Everyone pedals it back to the line. Rusty Wallace leading. And Stewart's car looks from here to be undamaged. Oh, sorry.
I think not.
Like his teammate Bobby Labonte, whose crew is now trying to remedy a possible broken shock from race 1, Tony Stewart has picked up a loose condition. So loose, in fact, that he breaks free off turn 2, gets bumped by Schrader, and collides with the passing Elliott Sadler. Sadler slams the outside wall, while Stewart limps through the grass, the nose of his Pontiac damaged and all 4 tires flat. Sadler isn't sure he'll qualify for the race on speed. If he does, he'll join Johnny Benson in going to a backup car. But for Stewart, one of the fastest cars in qualifying is bent out of shape, and there's questions whether he'll park as Dale Jarrett did in race 1. After 2 pit stops, the Joe Gibbs Racing crew patch up the car and send him back out. Fluid has made it difficult to stick a patch of tape to the nose. These are the first stops for returning Mike Lingerfeld, a member of Stewart's crew who was injured trying to retrieve a tire during the 2000 Daytona 500. Rusty leads the rest of the field except the lap Norm Benning down pit road. Ward Burton gets an air pressure adjustment for a tight condition. Jeff Burton gets a half pound of air in the right front. All get 4 tires, including Junior, who loses spots when the crew has issues with the left rear. Schrader also loses positions when he has to back out of his pit stall. When things shake out, Rusty retains the lead. The restart comes with just 10 laps to go. Learning from Dale Earnhardt's example in race 1, Rusty doesn't jump to a big lead and keeps the field single file. The next time by, Jeff Burton tries the high lane, but he has no help, so he slips to 5th behind Robert Presley. Skinner tries to get around Ward Burton for 2nd, but Ward pulls away. No one can pass, no one can get away, and now, after so many single file runs, everyone else is catching them. On lap 42, the pack catches the leaders in turn 4, and we have one big pack once again. Todd Bodine, despite scraping the wall, still holds a transfer spot in 14th. Chad Knaus threw some adjustments at Stacy Compton, but they're just not working. The 92 car falls back again. The team looks ahead to Sunday. With 5 laps to go, things get racier up front. Presley has to move high in 3rd to block Mike Skinner, who is Jeff Burton to the outside of him. Rusty comes back around to lead over Ward Burton and Robert Presley, but Ward slips by in turns 1 and 2. To the inside, Skinner and Junior have linked up. They've passed Terry Labonte and are now working on Presley for 3rd, now Rusty for 2nd. Ward comes down to block the approach into turn 3, but Skinner moves lower. Ward gives him the lane and moves back in front of Rusty. Skinner has a lead, but chooses the high lane to block Ward. Skinner holds the preferred line, but also opens the door for Junior to pull to his inside, with drafting help from Schrader and Todd Bodine. Bodine is now just 4 laps from making his first 500 start since 1995. Skinner and Junior remain neck and neck, neither able to escape the other. Behind them, the 2-wide pack grows restless, threatening to pull 3 wide. Matt Kenseth is now in the transfer spot. With 3 laps to go, Skinner gets a run on the high lane. He opens up an advantage on Ward Burton, who then catches him. Entering turn 3, Junior matches Skinner's run on the inside, and they're still side by side. Skinner pulls an advantage in the tri-oval and now tries to work both the high lane and the low lane. At the white flag, Skinner leads Ward, who's still battling Junior down low. Further back, Dave Blaney throws his car onto the apron of turn 1.
4 wide, 5 wide. And they made it. Dave Blaney almost took out half the field coming from the apron up onto the racetrack there. If they told me they could have made that turn, I would have said there ain't no way. They were 5 wide.
Somehow they all keep it straight, but Bodine's wiggling car tumbles out of the transfer spot. Back up front, it's all about turn 3.
Skinner blocking Junior.
Oh, gee. Uh-oh, boys.
Gonna run out of racetrack.
Got to give him some room, Mike.
Earnhardt Jr. muscled his way to the front. They're lining up for a run behind him. Here comes Jeff Burton. This is it.
They all make it back without wrecking him. Surprise me, boys.
2 by 2. Earnhardt on the bottom. Skinner up top to squeeze him down. Photo finish.
I will not try to call that. We was looking right down on him.
Mike Skinner just back from his honeymoon.
Man.
His wife thinks they've won. Earnhardt Jr.'s crew think they've won. They're 1 pit apart from each other.
I'm going to put my money on Skinner.
Unofficially, by 4 1/1000ths of a second, Mike Skinner.
Oh, man.
Unbelievable finish.
In his first race since taking over for Larry McReynolds as crew chief, Royce McGee is beside himself.
It's pretty exciting for us on the slow team to do this. We've been close so many times with this team, and you know, with Larry going on and doing this Fox deal, it gave me an opportunity to work with Mike and all these guys that have been here for years. 4 years with this team. It feels really important for us to go and do this for the 125s. It gives us a great start for the 500. We're really excited about this.
Steve, tell Royce I couldn't be prouder of him.
Hey, Larry said he couldn't be prouder of you, Royce.
I'll tell you what, Larry, I appreciate it. All them hard nights we worked at the shop, all that knowledge you gave me paid off today, right here.
Tell him to go enjoy Victory Lane. It's sweet.
Larry says go enjoy it. He's got a tear out of his eye, Larry.
Mike Skinner, 2nd twice, 3rd once. Finally, this time's the charm. What was it like on that last lap?
I'll tell you what, having Junior beating on the side of you as bad as having Senior beating on you, but he did a great job. I'll tell you, and Ward Burton, he did a great job too. They raced me clean relatively, and you know, it was a hard race. I got sick last night, had a stomach flu real bad, spent about an hour and a half in the care center this morning getting some fluids in there, and lots of this good old Gatorade right here. Can't say enough for Gatorade sponsoring this race, and can't say enough for Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse and all the people that helps us get here. And They hung in here with us. I'll trade it right now for one Sunday, though.
While strategy is played out far different from Race 1, Race 2 sees the same desperate scramble for the last transfer spot and the same frantic final lap. After running terrible all week, all 4 Roush cars finish in the top 14, led by Jeff Burton in third. In those final desperate seconds, Kyle Petty climbed from 18th on the white flag to finish 13th, 1 spot ahead of Ricky Rudd on the bubble. With that, Petty makes his 20th Daytona 500 start, joining both his teammates in Adams' car. When Blaney himself makes the field with a 9th place finish, Dodge accomplishes something that Toyota will not in 2007. All of their entries make the 500 field. But Blaney's contact has dropped Todd Bodine to 17th, out of the race.
I tell you, the Kmart Tourist team had a tough January and February, worked their tails off on this car. We had a decent car in the race, and unfortunately, we got up to 5th, got pitted, made the car better, got up to 5th, and Dave Blaney had a run going into 1 on the last lap. It's a good run. Anybody would have taken it. The problem was he was too close to the corner when he did it, and we got to the corner, we were side by side, and he was on the apron. Slid up into me. Luckily, I saved the car, didn't crash anybody else, and we ended up 17th instead of 5th where we were.
The remaining DNQs from Race 2 never once contended for the last transfer spot. After his first lap pit stop, Norm Benning loses 2 laps in 24th, the only driver still under power to not finish on the lead lap. Morgan Shepherd takes 20th for Stan Hoover, ahead of Dave Marcus in 21st, the 2 oldest entrants, both out of Sunday's race. For Marcus, who joins teammate Dwayne Lake on the early ride home, it's his 2nd straight DNQ. Hut Strickland likewise misses for Junie Donlavey in 22nd. It's only the 2nd time in the history of the Daytona 500 that Donlavey's car isn't in the 500 field. The only other time was in 1970, when they didn't enter. After 497 days of rumor and anticipation, 52 teams arrived in Daytona to attempt the Great American Race. Now, only 43 remain, with 3 days still to go.
Several veterans of the Truck Series are returning with newly formed 2 truck super teams. Ruttman, Holzma, and Strike each found success in 2000, but are now poised as mentors with newcomers. Hamilton's Willie T. Ribbs, Renzi's David Donahue, and young Ricky Hendrick. The birth of these super teams has everyone wondering, is 2 really better than 1?
Friday sees ESPN's coverage of both the Truck Series and the International Race of Champions. On the Truck Series side, Dr. Jerry Punch is in the booth with Phil Parsons. It's a rebuilding year for the series, as the top 4 in the 2000 standings have all graduated to other divisions. While defending series champion Greg Biffles in the Busch Series, Mike Wallace, Andy Houston, and Kurt Busch have each now raced their way into the Daytona 500. The Truck Series, already the inspiration for the current Cup Series aero package, has made further changes, including the gurney lip atop the tall rear spoilers. They do not adopt the roof rail and continue to use the rubber wicker bill from 2000. To increase stability, NASCAR has widened the rear spoiler by 1 inch before happy hour, making them 2 inches wider than the previous season. Mindful of the wreck involving Jeffrey Bodine a year earlier, the series has adopted a new structural reinforcement called the Bodine bar.
Of course, safety is NASCAR's #1 issue, and no one will ever forget Jeffrey Bodine's horrifying crash in this race 1 year ago. Now, basically what happened, as Jeffrey got in a real tight pack of trucks, he approached a truck, and this part of the fender actually got pushed in. Now, because the tire rotates in this direction, he was actually launched up into the catch fence. So NASCAR created what we now call the Bodine bar. It's a little Nerf bar that sticks out on the outside of the fenders. Basically what that does, it keeps it so that he can't push this fender in too far. And that is all the way down the side of the truck, just like you would see on a NASCAR modified.
As in the Cup Series, Dodge is dominant in qualifying. The manufacturer sweeps the front 2 rows, including 3rd place Willie T. Ribbs, who makes his return to NASCAR competition for the first time since 1986. Multiple mechanical issues, however, will leave him a distant 23rd.
Rush, to give you some pointers to go quick here at Daytona?
Oh, yeah, he's always got something up his sleeve. I'm looking again.
So what's next for you?
Get ready for practice.
Okay, he's going to be running a truck here at Daytona.
Hey, Dick, ask him about the hat. I'd like to know about the hat. That's a cool hat. I like to know where he got it.
Willie, wait a minute, don't leave. Darrell Waltrip wants to know about the hat. Really, I do too. You know, your hat's a whole lot smarter than my hat. Where'd that thing come from?
Darrell doesn't remember, but I was in FFA. I used to raise show hogs. So
you raised what?
Show hogs.
What are they?
They're hogs that were for show. We didn't even eat them. They were just, put a bikini on them, and they were for looks only.
There you go, folks. Willie T. Ribs. I had nothing to do with that.
Among the starters in the race is 29th place Larry Gunselman. Gunselman drives the Waterloo Tool Storage Ford, which is entered by Mike Midler. Daytona marks the first time that Midler has entered a truck since Tony Roper's fatal accident at Texas the previous October. Back on the circuit, Midler has changed truck numbers from Roper's number 26 to the 63, which along with the yellow decal bearing Roper's name will be run for the rest of his career as team owner. Gunselman has qualified for the race despite a stacked entry list of 42 drivers for just 36 spots. With 2 laps to go, Gunselman runs 15th, 1 lap down. Coming through turns 1 and 2, Chuck Hosfeld gets loose under him and the two crash. Gunselman ends up 18th as the race heads towards a green-white checkered finish. When the caution falls, Joe Ruttman, the 56-year-old pole sitter, has been leading a breakaway pack. Right behind him is Ricky Hendrick, who after his missed shift in the ARCA race is now getting a second chance.
Coming down for the green-white checkered flag, Ricky Hendrick had never led a Truck Series race until today. Ruttman, an 11-time winner, 3 a year ago. Scott Riggs looking for his first win. How about Lance Norrick back in 4th spot? Lefter's back there, the winner last October in Texas. Here we go.
Just hold on, Jerry.
Green flag waves. It'll be white flag, big checkered flag.
Looking low. Stay in your track. Get in your track. Keep staying with you. You broke away again.
The draft so very critical. It is Dodge, Chevrolet, Dodge.
Run through your breaking away. You know what to do.
He doesn't know what to do. He's been here before, Jerry.
Ruttman, Hendrick, and Riggs. Dodge, Chevrolet, Dodge. An 11-time winner and 2 young, hungry Craftsman Truck Series drivers looking for their first victory right behind him.
Again, a 3-truck breakaway, just like we had before the caution flag.
White flag. What will they do? Will Hendrick go to the inside? When will he make his move? Will Riggs be a factor? Scott Riggs had the strong truck early on. No one can run with Riggs. That's the truck that won a year ago. The chassis that won, the team that won.
Take it back on you. He's losing you behind you. Stay with him.
Now Riggs is faded by about 4 truck lengths back-to-back straightaway.
Joe Ruttman is watching his mirror every inch of the way around this race.
Watch him.
Riggs backed up to get a run.
Looking outside.
Here is Riggs.
He's there.
To the high side of Ricky Hendrick. That's going to help Joe Ruttman. You listen to Ricky Hendrick's radio. Here they come. Off the turn, Riggs has a run. Hendrick has a run. But Ruttman has 3 car lengths, and Joe Ruttman will win it.
The result is the first recorded victory for the Bobby Hamilton racing chassis nicknamed Freak.
You finished 3rd in the Daytona 500 a few years back, but now you have the trophy. You're in victory lane at Daytona. How's it feel?
Well, I wish I could have done it 30 years ago when I was younger, but it's an awesome feel because with the Dana Dodge behind me, anyone could have won with this thing. And I'd like to thank Bobby Hamilton again and Craftsman for putting up that good money for us to try to win.
To kind of set him up for coming off turn 4, I figured we could get good momentum run on him and get the win, but 2 truck behind me kind of, did his own deal. Everyone for themselves that last lap going into 3. So we all 3 were there by ourselves, and luckily I got back by the 2 truck, and the GMAC Chevrolet did great all day, and can't thank my guys enough.
Ricky didn't let him outsmart him, you guys. Good job to Ricky Hendrick.
Next is the opening round for the 25th season of the International Race of Champions.
Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins. Welcome to Daytona as we begin this 4-race series. We'll also have events at Talladega, at Michigan, and we'll wrap things up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, this is the 25th year. We've seen some great races over the past year at Daytona. Basically, they've been dominated by those drivers in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Scott Sharp is one of the drivers that will be calling the race for us here today. And Scott, what do you think? Do the IndyCar drivers have a shot at it this year?
Well, you know, Bob, typically the open wheel drivers are certainly at a bit of a disadvantage. It's the best NASCAR drivers on their track with their cars. In the last 5 years, they've only won 15% of the time. But this year, things might be different. Jayski and the IROC team have added roof spoiler and more rear spoiler for more downforce, makes the cars easier to drive, gives off a bigger wake, better drafting, so that should help. Certainly also, Eddie Cheever and Kevin Brack are two really aggressive drivers, adapted well to these cars, and if the other open wheel guys can get behind them, help them, they might have a surprise for them.
And also with this, Jeffrey Bodine, who is a former winner of the Daytona 500 and the 1987 champion of the IROC Series. What do you think? Are the IndyCar guys going to have a show today?
Well, Bob, Scott really said it all. I mean, with the cars changed a little bit, more aerodynamics, more drafting, easier to drive, with the experience the open wheel guys have at some of these tracks, like here at Daytona, don't be surprised if you see one of those boys driving victory lane.
Dale Earnhardt is the defending champion of the race and also of the series.
The Pontiac Firebirds have also adopted a similar aerodynamic package to the Cup cars. Tony Stewart is a late invitee as he takes the place of Gilles de Ferran, injured in an off-season testing crash. Dale Earnhardt looks strong early, poised to take his 12th IROC win, which would break his tie with Al Unser Jr. for the most wins ever in the series. But when Jeff Burton crosses his nose off turn 4, the IROC crew have to tape his fenders back together. With just 7 other competitors and 14 laps still to go, Earnhardt still finds his way back to the lead, only to find a new challenger in Eddie Cheever.
I tell you, there's one guy, we've all seen this before. I don't think you want to be going the last lap with Earnhardt leading.
You don't want Earnhardt leading or second or third or fourth or fifth anywhere, because he doesn't matter where we go.
Here we go. On the outside. Come on, Kenny.
With 2 laps to go.
Kenny.
And they touch into turn 1. Earnhardt is in the grass.
Look at him hang on to that car. Big save.
Amazing. He did not crash.
Great save, but a bad, terrible move by Cheever. You just can't front somebody down in the grass like that. That is way too dangerous.
Eddie's pretty aggressive all the time, and today's no exception.
We need to have a camera down in the garage area after this race.
Now here comes Rudd up on the high side of the racetrack trying to take the lead from Cheever.
Might get a camera down in the grass.
Yeah, now Eddie, don't try to put him through the wall.
I think Eddie is decided he's going to win this race one way or the other.
They're coming down for the white flag. Some contact between Bobby Labonte in violet and Kenny Breck in the yellow car.
Look at Eddie's car sliding around.
Oh, they are bumping, they're sliding.
Kenny and Dale Jarrett. Come on, Kenny. Oh. Wow, man.
This looks like a Saturday night short track race.
This is great.
Sure is.
Up front, Rudd and Cheever are side by side as they head down the backstretch for the final time. They're still trading paint on those Pontiac Trans Am Firebirds, and Cheever suddenly darts to the inside, and that opens up the hole for Dale Jarrett, who go up and battle to the inside of Rudd. And now Breck comes up and bumps Jarrett in the back end. 5 cars go at it here for the win in round number 1 of the True Value IROC 25. Down off corner number 4. Rudd and Jarrett touch. They head for the line. Who's it going to be? Jarrett with the inside line, and Dale Jarrett wins by just a matter of a foot or so.
Wow, we have 3 cars side by side coming across for fight for 3rd place.
4 laps ago, Dale Jarrett looked like he lost a draft.
Yep.
That lead group, and he wins the race.
Back there in 5th position and a little bit behind the other 4, but he wins.
That's his first win in IROC, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Like I said, he's never finished better than 3rd until today, but he brings home the win in the first round of True Value IROC 12. What's going on?
Well,
Cheever is...
we didn't make it to the garage area before. There was a little
payback going on in the back straightaway, I think, right about now.
Dale Jarrett beats Cheever to the finish, while Earnhardt finishes 7th.
Eddie Cheever, what a wild day at IROC. First of all, you and Dale Earnhardt down in turn 1.
Oh, we you know, I have been working with him. He's great to work behind, and we worked our way up, and I made a mistake. I tried to pass him on the outside. I got sideways. I clipped him once, and then I started spinning. I clipped him again, and he got it together, and And he's special, man. That guy knows what he's doing. But, you know, stuff happens. It's fun racing with him. This is not my sandbox. This is their sandbox. But it's an honor to come down here, and I apologize for making a mistake, but my job is not to let off. My job is to stay on.
Eddie, what happened after the race? Just tempers a little bit?
No. He came down. I thought I was going to get an ass kicking, but he came down and said, I'll race you next time, no problem. It was definitely my mistake.
I just want to know it's over with. We'll race next time. I feel like he got loose off the trowel, but, man, he just kept coming, and I thought I was off of it, and he just kept coming. No hard feelings? You got to go on. You can't let. That's our rock race. We got to race to Sunday. We can't worry about that.
What was the spin a way of showing me you're unhappy and just leaving it here at Daytona?
Yeah, we're even now.
Any of that bitter down?
No, we'll race again. Our rock race is supposed to be fun. I'm trying to have fun.
Tomorrow, right here in historic Daytona, the Super Bowl of auto racing will take place. But first things first, right now it's the Busch Series kicking off with its richest and most important event of the year. This is a race that the Intimidator won a record 7 times, the Napa 300.
Saturday dawns cloudy with rain in the area. The NASCAR Busch Series leads the program with their opener, the Napa Auto Parts 300. For this series, the aero package remains largely unchanged from the year 2000, employing just a 55-degree spoiler with no gurney lip, no roof rail, and a 29/32 restrictor plate. With this package, the Pontiacs have a clear advantage. Of the 43 starters, 13 are Pontiacs, and 9 of those qualify in the top 10, led by teammates Joe Nemechek and Randy LaJoie. Nemechek is one of 7 drivers who entered both this race and the Daytona 500, and is one of 6 to actually qualify for both. Todd Bodine, bumped from the 500 field on the last lap of his qualifier, drives for Buckshot Jones in his Pontiac, the 00. Ironically, while Buckshot brought a sponsor of his own into the Cup Series for Petty Enterprises, this car is without a sponsor. Also among the Cup drivers is Matt Kenseth, who continues his long-standing effort with the Reiser family in the number 17 Visine Chevrolet. Bobby Hamilton runs alongside his son Bobby Hamilton Jr. in a pair of Chevrolets sponsored by Dr. Pepper. For the older Hamilton, who's suffering the same stomach virus Mike Skinner had on Thursday, this is his first Busch Series start since 1995. Michael Waltrip has his own car with sponsorship from Aaron's, which left Johnny Benson's Cup team at the end of 2000. He calls his new ride the Aaron's Dream Machine. Phoenix Racing has cars entered in both races, but today P.J. Jones runs his number 1 Yellow Freight Pontiac. Jeff Purvis, his Cup driver, instead runs for Joe Gibbs. In fact, Purvis will drive the number 18 MBNA Pontiac, which Jason Leffler left to move up to Cup with Chip Ganassi. Purvis's teammate at JGR is Mike Magic Shoes McLaughlin, who after leaving George Debedard's team is replaced by Kenny Wallace in the number 48 Gould's Pumps Chevrolet. Series regulars fill the rest of the field, including up-and-comers Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray, Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, and all 3 of the Green brothers. Chad Little, who lost his Cup ride with Roush, is a last-minute substitution for Phil Parsons in the Base Motorsports car. After Terry Bradshaw gives the command, Little drops to the back for the start.
And here they come, 43 strong, to race 300 miles. Green flag, we're racing.
The Pontiacs continue their domination into the race. Nemechek leads from the green flag until a pop-up rainstorm on lap 16 stops the action for an hour and 28 minutes. Scott Wimmer, fresh off an unexpected Cup Series debut the previous November in Atlanta, leads on the ensuing restart. But Purvis's Gibbs car is much faster.
What a story it is for a rookie driver. He's out of that Wisconsin area, up around Wausau. Gave us Dave Marcus, which gave us all that Sauter gang. He's 2-time a track champion on little tracks, like the 3rd mile up there at Golden Sands, and he was a track champion at Wisconsin Dells. But this is the first time in his life that he has ever been on a super speedway, and look at that cat travel.
His uncle was short track great Larry Dachins.
Uh-oh, we got to fight for the lead. Here we go. Going to get some action going here now. Everybody's tired of riding a little bit. The other guy's doing a great job. Jamie McMurray there. He's running along in 5th place.
Purvis, does he get the lead? He does.
Got it. He wanted that lead badly, and he went for it, buddy, and he's got it.
Now, P.J. Jones pulls up alongside Wimmer.
And one thing we got to remember, Scott Wimmer did not pit that last time, so he's out there on a lot older tires than these other cars, and that could be weighing on him right now that we're coming up here on lap 40. He's been out there a long time on those tires.
Yes, he has.
Right now, he just don't have any help, he doesn't.
First green flag lead change of the day. Wimmer will get back in line, but back at 9th place. P.J. Jones, son of the 64 Indy 500 winner, has fought his way up to 2nd place. Matt?
He's a former 24 Hours winner, Mike, but before today, only one other stock car start here in Daytona. During happy hour, they did not have PJ out running with a lot of other cars in the draft because
there are few incidents, and for Purvis, even fewer challengers. On lap 46, Jamie McMurray nearly inherits the lead when he spins on pit road, then changes tires under the ensuing caution, but NASCAR sends him to the back. Jeff Green, the defending series champion, made a manufacturer switch from Chevrolet to Ford over the offseason, and is now driving a car the PPI Motorsports raced before closing their Busch program. Green barely leads lap 60, but Purvis is too strong for him, too. Todd Bodine also challenges, but his car is damaged in a spin on lap 85. And after Tony Raines nearly flips down the backstretch, there are just 14 laps remaining, with Purvis still in command. But now LaJoie and Nemechek, the two fastest cars, sit 2nd and 3rd, ready to strike. Through the first part of the race, LaJoie has been struggling with his brand new pit crew. They left lug nuts loose on his first stop, then let a wheel get away on the next. Now, the 1997 and 1999 winner is running 2nd, and with 12 laps to go, makes his move.
The 4-car breakaway did not work. Let's go to the leader's pit, Matt.
Mike, under that caution, Jeff Purvis's crew chief, Doug Richard, told him, switch to the backup box. There's not a rev limiter chip, so you can turn as much as 7,600 RPMs to ensure a good restart. And now the 7 is in the lead.
LaJoie and Nemechek hold the bottom as Purvis falls back, unable to mount a challenge on the outside lane. With 2 to go, Kenseth sees an opening on Nemechek for 2nd.
Oh, getting turned around.
Oh, no.
Nemechek.
It's Nemechek.
I believe he got into Purvis as well.
He did, and they will run to the caution. This will be the race. They'll take the caution and then complete it.
LaJoie's got his hands full. I'm telling you, that 2-car's got a run on him, and he's going to have to figure out which way he's going to go.
Randy LaJoie, Harvick looking high, looking low. LaJoie drops down, and at the caution, LaJoie leads them to the white flag. They will complete the final lap under yellow. Back in midfield, they're coming across 3 wide. P.J. Jones' car goes to pit lane, torn up in that battle on the backstretch.
Miraculously, only Nemechek and Purvis are involved, as LaJoie wins the Busch opener for a 3rd time in 5 years.
Well, I thought Joe, my teammate, I got to thank the Nemechek family, Nemco Motorsports, Evans Motorsports, brand new race team. How about Kleenex? These guys have been around forever. Now we bring them on board. Scott Proctor had to go down the side here. Goodyear, Shop Towels, everybody. Carl Wagner, we had a motor today that was good. Went to the back a couple times, had an air gun break, come back up. Then we had a tire get away from us, went to the back, come back up, got to the front. Here's the car owner right here. What a way to start.
With darkness approaching due to the rain delay, happy hour comes next. For many of the teams led on pit road by Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt, the decision has been whether to run the engine they've set aside for the Daytona 500 or keep the one they ran in the 125s. Ken Schrader's team changes engines just before the session starts and remarks it's the best one he's run all week. With cool temperatures, a 20-mile-per-hour gust generating a headwind up the backstretch, and a forecast for the same on Sunday, teams like Juniors, Atwoods, and Parks are making gear changes. Parks' team even changes the shocks. Dale Earnhardt only turns a couple laps. Dissatisfied with how his engine's performing, he pulls back into the garage. For the 2nd time in 3 days, Jeff Gordon nearly wipes out his car. This time he loses the engine while running in a pack of traffic.
Gordon up high off the 2. Whoa.
in trouble, in the wall.
He's in big trouble back there.
You saw the sparks at the bottom left corner of your frame as Jeff Gordon got into the wall coming off turn 2.
In the early moments of full-on drafting, Mark Martin surprises with the fastest lap. Even more surprising, no one bests him for the rest of the session, which is finally some good news for the Roush team. Steve Park and Ward Burton round out the top 3 as the fastest Chevrolet and Dodge. Tony Stewart and Dale Jarrett, whose cars were most carefully prepared over the offseason, each returned to the track after damage suffered in their 125s. While Stewart's team only had to repair the left front nose, the right door, and part of the rear bumper, Jarrett's crew had to replace the entire right side, only to find even more parts were bent. Just before the session, the team even changes the car's front-end geometry. Mindful of their incident in Happy Hour the year before, Jarrett turns just 12 laps and calls it a day. Pole sitter Bill Elliott is also cautious, not turning a lap until very late in the session. In a ceremonial gesture, Ray Evernham smashes his 500-day countdown clock in the garage, 1 day before it would have reached 0. As to the 2 unsponsored entries, Kenny Wallace has picked up backing from Hills Brothers, which joined the team after the Donlavey team missed the 500. Jeff Purvis, despite nearly winning the Busch race earlier the same day, still runs without any backing. After practice ends, James Finch puts logos for his own company, Phoenix Construction, on the car. Purvis has his work cut out for him on Sunday. His car is second slowest in the session, just ahead of the Conseco Pontiac of Ron Hornaday Jr. Hornaday's crew had also completed extensive repairs from their 125 wreck, flying in a new door and the equipment to replace it, but the car still proves sluggish. Another Pontiac runs much faster. Following his wreck in the 125s, Johnny Benson Jr. becomes only the second driver in the 500 field to go to a backup car, joining Elliott Sadler. His backup, the same car that nearly won the Daytona 500 a year earlier, proves just as quick with the new aero package. The fast white car is 5th. As Happy Hour concludes without serious incident, Terry Bradshaw is standing by with a film crew on pit road. He meets up with Dale Earnhardt, and the two film a segment for Sunday's pre-race show.
You don't want to go there and catch the apron too quick, don't you lose it, do you, too? Holy! Oh, get out, get out, get out, get out, get on the car, we won, yay!
I know if victory lane's here, you would like to be crossing that line first.
And then spin around in the infield.
Spin around the infield.
And then go to victory lane.
Then go victory lane, which is where I'll be do the interviews.
Oh, you gonna be here?
Yeah, what do you mean I'm gonna be? Fox brought their A-team in here, babe.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land